Yes, you read that title right. It's a holiday miracle. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now, if you are familiar with this channel, then you might have known that we tend to follow the common Dragon Ball trope, and it is really a common one, that is about investigating what might have happened had a particular character switched sides and instead fought with the good guys. Or if you want to be more accurate, the side that is featured the most. History is of course written by the winners, as some people say. Anyway, there has been one scenario which I have categorically eschewed from thought due to the fact that I didn't really think it would be possible, or at least not done well. Lots of you out there though have asked about what I thought of this, and many times I have pushed back, saying that it just couldn't be done. But here and now, just a few days before Christmas, I think I have an idea which might work. It's a bit of an ambitious one, I admit, but here goes nothing. What if Frieza turned good? Now before you either gasp with glee or recoil with uncertainty and plenty of eye rolling, hear me out here. This isn't going to be something that we saw with Dabura in Dragon Ball Z, where he pulled a complete and unnatural, albeit hilarious, 180, and he was a guy who was so pure that we'd want all the fruit gummy. This idea, I feel, is going to require a lot of thought and logic behind it that would make sense within the story of Dragon Ball. And for ages, I thought this was beyond reason, and not anything that could be viable as a compelling story and would be true to Frieza. However, we were talking about something during the weekly What If roundtables recently. That's the stream where myself, Haverock, and Sophie B, friends of the channel, go through your ideas about potential what ifs. During one a few weeks back, there was a particular train of thought that really got me thinking, and it all started to click together, to make something that seemed pretty reasonable to the average Dragon Ball fan, and something that added a lot of story and deep narrative to it, something dramatic. But before we begin, do check out the merch store at masako.cc/store for some post-holiday purchases, as it really does support the channel, and it also gives you some pretty awesome designs at the same time. I mean, who knows? One design may come from this very series. We shall have to see what we come up with. Thank you for your time. Now the first question for any new what if is this. Where does it start? What particular moment sows the seeds of change within the world of Dragon Ball? Do we go far back, like we did for What If Bardock Convinced the Saiyans? Do we make something that is a recent occurrence during the days of Dragon Ball Super, where we see Frieza being a team player for Universe 7? And yes, we do know that this was for his own personal gain ultimately, but it's a lot more than what he would have done when he was a little younger in the Namek Saga. In any case, we are going to be starting during the Namek Saga, at a time similar to another what if we did. What if Frieza listened to Goku? Back then, when I first came up with this was my next best solution back in the day to answer whether Frieza would turn good, to answer the questions about it, whether he'd have an about face, with a thing that seemed pretty realistic. But now, I think we can up the ante with this, but if you want to watch what I did with that story, then do check it out up top. Right, we begin with the moment that we of course all know. Frieza gets duped by the 2 Destructo discs that he makes for some reason, and lands on the ground in a heap. Like in the previous what if, he decides to take Goku's advice about using the Saiyan's ki to escape the planet before it blows up. Now, reluctantly, he watches the Saiyan he had been tussling with fly away. How dare that monkey make a fool of me? I'll show him one day. Or maybe right now. Frieza gets an idea to lure Goku into a trap, stalling for time. Monkey! Wait! Use my ship! Goku stops in his tracks. Is this Frieza helping him? It can't be true. What do you mean? Your ship is still around in this chaos? Don't underestimate my craft, fool. It can withstand anything the galaxy can throw at it, or even me when I'm having a bit of a tantrum. Come, I remember where it was parked. Frieza flies as fast as he can, given his condition, and Goku chooses to follow. King Kai can sense this going down and is watching closely. If things get hairy, he may have to step in and rescue Goku mid-splodey. They get to Frieza's ship, and it's resting on top of chasms, and flames cascade around it as the Emperor opens the door and guides Goku to the control center, the bridge. Why are you helping me? A second ago you were trying to end me. I saw the error of my ways, monkey. I realized there is no point holding back progress and whatnot. I needed to be set straight. That's where you came in. This is really strange. Goku doesn't know what to think of this, but they are in Frieza's ship and are heading to the bridge to get out of here. And they do get there. And calmly, Frieza activates the controls, and the craft begins to teeter and totter its way off of the ground, hovering into the dark red sky. Frieza is struggling, what with only having one arm, so Goku offers to help steer the craft out into space and to a safe location. King Kai is nervously watching, but really wish that Goku just iced him sooner. Pun definitely intended. When the ship reaches the outer atmosphere, there is no time to spare. Goku can see the sky change from red to a deep blue as the stars begin to twinkle in its welcome to outer space. They're gonna make it.
I don't know what to say, Frieza. You kept your word. Thank you. I'm glad you've seen sense.
Frieza bows his head and smiles a little too sinisterly. Yes, indeed, I have seen sense. I know what my destiny is. Yours, though, I am sure ends here. Frieza immediately blasts the cockpit window out, and the space begins to suffer decompression. Goku is using every fiber of his being to stay in position. Barely any energy left to stand. Frieza is initially feeling very smug with himself. He had fooled this monkey into thinking that he was going to live. He had started to laugh his victory laugh, but this might have happened a little too soon. Goku grabs Frieza's remaining hand and powers up as much as he can, and begins to spin the Emperor around and around, outmatching his target's power. Goku roars with anger and sends Frieza flying out of the window, all of this before sending out an angry Kamehameha after him. Frieza cannot counter this, not realizing the extent of the energy gift that he'd received. Frieza is overwhelmed and is left being flung back towards the planet, orbiting it just as it explodes, as well as being in the middle of an angry Kamehameha. Goku can feel the heat of the explosion emanating from behind the ship and slams on every single button possible to activate the blast shields, which he does manage to do with seconds to spare, flames licking in the cabin. Now, with Frieza gone, he can take the ship far away from here. He slams what could be the controls to steer the ship and collapses on the floor, just completely and utterly exhausted. Meanwhile, Frieza survived the explosion, but not in much better state than he was in the original story. Sure enough, King Cole had been observing the whole thing and sends out a party to rescue his son, bringing him back on board. After what seems like weeks, Frieza regains consciousness, but his response is not what it was in the original story. It's different. While he had been out of it, his mind had been rattled with the fact that not even the most dastardly of his own tricks could work. The Saiyans had won. He was powerless to stop him. His plan had failed, and his daddy had seen the whole thing going down. It was so embarrassing. He was broken, figuratively and literally. King Cold can watch this going on his son's face and looks perturbed. What had happened to him? He's not like himself at all. Frieza thinks to himself, perhaps I should have just blasted him the first chance I got. After more time, Cold has a heart-to-heart with Frieza, asking him what happened. Frieza, looking just as morose, tells his father the whole thing. Cold looks absolutely shell-shocked. The monkeys, they'd gotten that strong? Frieza was no match for this Super Saiyan?
My dear boy, what shall we do? Shall we set a course for this Earth where the Saiyans are hiding? Show them how strong you are now with your upgrades and the power of the mighty King Cold, the superior being? You deserve to enact your vengeance, son. How dare they hurt you?
Normally, Frieza would revel in this idea, but there is no reaction other than just turning away. It's useless, father. They will only get stronger. They probably are already. I found out about their way to get stronger when they survived great injury. That Goku, he's probably even more powerful than when I pretended to rescue him. Cold's eyes open.
You what? You were feeling soft for this Goku boy? Did you want to see him live?
No, I wanted to trick him, and...
No son of mine would have done something so long-winded and risky. The Frieza I know would have taken them out on the spot, without mercy. You've changed, and not for the better. Perhaps this new dawn of Super Saiyan is not something that you should face. I need to make some arrangements.
Cold gets up and without another word leaves Frieza's quarters. Not long after that, Frieza is then stripped of his title as Lord Frieza, Emperor of the North Galaxy, that title going back to his father Cold, albeit temporarily. He had lost his status and his empire. He lost everything, just because of a single stupid comment. When Frieza goes to talk to his father, now the king again, he is met with an icy reception.
What do you want, boy? I have an empire to fix after you messed it up. You're lucky your brother isn't here. He would have made sure you never set foot in this place again. I'm nice like that.
He smirks sourly. Frieza then tries to persuade his father to give him his empire back, but his father doesn't want to know. As far as Cold's concerned, Frieza is clearly not fit to rule, where there are Super Saiyans and the likes of Vegeta knocking around, more powerful than ever. He let Vegeta go as well? Frieza sparks with anger at this, and Cold revels in this resentment.
Is my baby boy all mad? Come now. I've saved you from the big bad monkeys. They scared you so. It's for your own good, my son.
Frieza powers up and tries to attack Cold directly, and connects. Cold is shocked. His own flesh and blood attacked him? This will not do. Cold lets out a roar and powers up to his own final form and counters Frieza's attack.
That was a big mistake, boy.
Cold rips off Frieza's mechanical arm and tosses it aside before kicking Frieza down to the main floor of the throne room.
Get back to your room! I don't want to see you again. You disgrace me.
This desperate tactic was the final straw for Cold. Frieza was clearly too unstable to rule. He had proved it himself. On the way back to his room, Frieza watches the hangar as the latest mothership is being finalized. In the distance, he can see a ship hidden behind various crates as the construction efforts for the big ship are taking priority. Frieza has a plan. He heads for the hangar, but before he can enter, Berry Blue spots him and knows what he's up to.
If you go, you can kiss your life here goodbye. I don't think your father would tolerate somebody who would resort to sneaking around and fleeing. It's not like you, Frieza.
Frieza grits his teeth and holds himself back from attacking her. This is his nanny, the only person who had shown any kind of affection to him. I fear, Berry Blue, that I may have already kissed this place goodbye. Now leave me be. It's time for me to find some answers. One thing is for sure, I won't find any here. Berry Blue watches Frieza slink away to the ship, hobbling on his robotic legs, still somewhat damaged from the scuffle with Cold, but chooses to let him go. This is yet another life lesson that the young boy needs to face. She is pretty relieved, though, that he didn't attack her. Frieza heads to the ship to steal it, but meets resistance as Cold has stripped Frieza of any clearance. Big mistake, you scum. Frieza then immediately tears apart the guards and gets onto the small vessel, piloting it clumsily out of the hangar and off of Frieza Planet 1. Or should that be Cold Planet 1? Cold can see the ship shakily fly away, but allows it to do so.
I didn't think I would end up with 2 failures. Looks like it's time to head back to the drawing board.
Where we last left Frieza, he had managed to find himself a ship and hightailed it out of King Cold's sight, the king himself allowing this to happen, as his estimations of his former favourite pretty pink princess had vastly decreased in just a few short days. Cold was effectively casting him out, but without having to do any of the dirty work. The weakling had simply just shown himself out. Good. He won't last long out there, not with people knowing who he is, but that's the thing, Cold. You're wrong. This could be the best thing that could have happened to Frieza. Well, the best in this timeline, obviously. Who would know what Frieza would look like now? Frieza's final form was known only to some select Cold Force higher-ups, King Cold himself, obviously, Berry Blue and Kikono, and of course Goku, Vegeta, and some of the Dragon Team that saw it happen on Namek. As for your average Space Joe out there, they have no clue that Frieza had transformations. His first form to them was his only form, so this could mean a whole new world was open to Frieza. Nobody would know what he looked like. This robot hybrid, this mecha variation, was the Frieza. But that's not what is on his mind right now. All he cares about right now is just getting far away from his former domain, the place he called home. The life he had lived since the day he was born, it was all changed from here on out. King Kai had been paying attention to Frieza since he returned to his homeworld, naturally, to see what he would do, and couldn't believe what was going on, what he was seeing. With Goku on Yard Rat, seemingly, he was getting a little nervy, but this time it felt different. Frieza wasn't heading anywhere in particular, and nor was he in his mothership. He was in a little planet hopper without any sense of direction or idea about what to do. Goku! You won't believe what I'm receiving here! Goku listens to what King Kai has to say, and then asks whether he poses any kind of trouble for his friends on Earth. Hard to say, but from the way he's piloting the craft and from what I can sense from his energy, he's in no condition to mount a challenge. I'll keep an eye on him and let you know. Goku takes this to mean that there's no need to do anything, and so his Grand Master Pibara instructs him to continue his meditation, to learn more about spirit control, as well as, of course, the basic technique, instant transmission. Now, if you're wondering about where this is coming from, read the manga. Frieza is indeed not aiming for any world in particular. He is taking time to process what just happened. His robotic arm, or what's left of it, is crushed and in need of repair. His empire is gone, and he can't be sure whether people would try to rat him out to his father should he venture onto a planet that was formerly controlled by himself and now his daddy. But he can't just keep flying in space forever. He would need to stop for fuel and supplies. Even he knows that. He may be mostly robotic, but he does miss the simple pleasures like a good glass of rosé. He checks out the craft's database of planets that are under the Empire's control, and locates a world which was considered to be the organization's dumping grounds for any old robotics and old tech. That could be somewhere that might be able to build him a new appendage lickety-split. Frantically, he changes course and lands on this junkyard planet seeking components and people who might be able to build him a new arm.
What do you want, droid boy?
I'm sorry, my ears are playing up. What did you call me?
Droidy boy. On the account that you're a droid.
Don't you know who I am? How dare you talk to your superior? Frieza clams up, realizing he's digging himself into a hole possibly. The mook leans in fiercely.
No, I don't. And if you ain't gonna treat me right, then this transaction will be terminated.
The Zenny drops. This guy has no clue who he is. He can just charm his way to a new arm in no time, with no worry of his father finding him. This person doesn't look very smart. He can easily run circles around him. All he has to do is play along with this bozo, and he will be on his way and able to right this wrong and get his empire back. Frieza apologizes for his outburst in a very simpering manner, and then decides to humbly request that he's acting on the behalf of Lord Frieza. Hopefully news hasn't gotten round of his abdication yet. And requests that a new droid arm be constructed for this. A mere lackey who'd gotten himself into one too many scraps, I mean. I'm sure the irony is not lost on you, good sir. Now, be a dear and patch me up, would you? You wouldn't want to upset the boss upstairs, am I right?
Yes, of course, you got any credits?
Credits? I'm sorry, what?
If Lord Frieza sent you, he would have sent a credit ship with you for the materials.
But you've got the materials already. The whole planet is made of the materials, practically, you buffoon!
Frieza or no Frieza, credits are how we do business here. If you are indeed who you say you are, you would know. You don't get anything in this empire for free. So, no credits, no patching up. Now scram. Unless you want to work for it.
Frieza's eye twitches. Work? Seriously, him? Sing for his supper? Never! Where else would he find such an ample bounty of tech to repair his damaged body without fear of anybody ever finding out who he is? He was lucky that this guy didn't grass him up to King Cold. Yet. Fine. I'll work.
I'm glad you came around, droidy boy. Now you better get started, because you're going to be working for a long time.
Frieza turns to a pile of metal, which was several hundred feet high, and was regretting his decision immediately. King Kai was trying his best not to laugh at what he was seeing. Frieza doing menial jobs. What a new low. Well, high for the king, obviously. The king was creased up on the ground, causing Bubbles and Gregory to be very concerned for their boss's health and well-being. Several hours pass, and the mechanic comes out to check, thinking that Frieza would have given up, but finds the pile of junk gone. The hillock was nowhere to be seen. All organized in the right place. Frieza was sat on the ground, impatiently waiting for this bozo to return.
What? I don't believe it. This should have taken you weeks to shift, if at all. How did you do that?
Frieza turns and responds lazily. It's not that difficult. I'm not a weakling, you know. Nor am I a simpleton. Big stuff goes there, small stuff goes there, wires and cables go there. You'd have to be a filthy monkey to not understand that.
Name's Kit. I'll get you your arm.
Frieza follows and sits down to have his new arm fitted. Finally, some kind of service around here. While Kit fixes up a robotic arm from one of his stock, he explains that nobody has ever been able to finish organizing that pile in the past 3 years. People try to score free parts, but they either give up or just keel over out of exhaustion.
No, I'm grateful for that, buddy. It's not every day you come across a superpowered drifter. Actually, there's never been a day that's happened. Thank you.
Frieza turns away, not wanting to respond to this gratitude. Nobody had ever said thank you to him before. Well, never said thank you with any kind of sincerity or a lack of quivering fear in their voice. He was getting an arm and he'll be gone. He'll be out of here. He'll be out of this dump. Whatever. Just hurry up so I can get out of here.
Whatever you say, droidy boy.
I have a name.
Oh? Well, I don't care. Not one for names, except my own. And besides, I like droidy boy enough that calling you anything else would be kind of weird right now.
As Frieza leaves the planet with a new arm, he is left feeling quite refreshed. Yes, he would naturally feel better with having no broken bits to his frame. He did some work and got rewarded for it, with actual genuine kindness. He had been feeling a little bored of getting everything that he wanted prior to Goku and his cronies taking everything from him, actually making him having to put in effort. This was no sign of wanting to be friends with him or anything. Kit's not his friend. But thanks to them, he was left with nothing but a ship and a drifter's life ahead of him. Okay, so what happens next? Well, this does actually cause some ripple effects, some other stuff to happen with our good guys. Since Mecha Frieza is now preoccupied with his own endeavors, when future Trunks arrives, there's no sign of Frieza on Earth, or his father, or anyone resembling them. Nobody's here, not even the Dragon Team. Well, this is weird. Mom definitely said this was the day that Frieza showed up and Goku was meant to return here. Well, what is going on is that the likes of Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin are arriving to see that this new power has suddenly arrived and what it's all about. Trunks spots this and instructs them from afar that he is here to wait for Goku. At least somebody's here to tell them to come to this precise location to wait with him. He's gonna be here soon. But little do they know that Goku ain't coming. King Kai had been keeping tabs with Goku about Frieza's location, but since the Tyrant was doing nothing really, just flying through space, Goku had told King Kai to not bother him anymore with this update so he could work on more training, having grasped the basics of instant transmission. Having cleared that hurdle, Pibara offers Goku the chance to focus on a particular power that he could specialize in. If you've been au fait with the manga recently, examples could range from multiple copies of yourself, gigantification, and healing. And instead of me choosing this power arbitrarily, I am going to leave this up to you. What does Goku learn out of these three? Check out the poll up top, and your result will be carried forward now that Goku has the time to improve his training. As for Trunks, Frieza's absence has made him out to be a bit of a laughingstock. Just a guy appearing saying these things will happen and they don't. Vegeta grows tired of this hanging around in the desert waiting for a future event to not happen.
Either you tell us why you're here, or get back to your supposed future, brat! Fess up!
I don't understand. Goku's supposed to be here, and so's Frieza. Gohan steps up, twigging the fact that Frieza's still alive? Yeah, he's meant to be some kind of robot version of himself, and his dad was meant to be here. Well, that's what I was told. Vegeta scowls.
So Kakarot failed to finish him off. I knew he'd blow it. That Super Saiyan power should have been mine.
Trunks realizes that his mum might have been wrong, but he can't leave without telling these guys about the androids. It would have been a total waste of time, no pun intended. So he has no choice but to tell the group here. Before he leaves, he asks Gohan to give this heart medicine to his father should he return, because he's going to need it in about 3 years' time. What for exactly? He doesn't tell the kid, but With his mission complete to the best of his ability, Trunks heads back to the future, and the gang now have to figure out their next step without Goku around to help them. Great. Back at Cold Planet 1 though, King Cold is busy observing the creation of an advanced project which has got all of his attention. He has not left its side since day 1, the day that Frieza disappeared. The project files read similar to Frieza's and that of Cooler's, the former brother. It reads Trojan. We start off with our Dragon team, unsure where to begin because Goku isn't there to give him the guidance. That does happen a lot. Himself swanning about on planet Yardrat, focusing more on his spirit control training. This does mean that he is stronger, slightly, than he is in the original show at this point, having gained a better focus of his overall energy output, then being able to kind of fine-tune it to make it one specific point more efficient. But one mystery which we shall now address is what power does Goku choose to specialize in after consuming his basic training? And that was down to you. With a categorical 70% of the vote, you chose for Goku to focus on the Yardratian technique, that is healing. Okay, this means that Goku now has a limited ability to heal, which could come in use sometime. But I think to make sure that this doesn't get broken, and since we're uncertain about the scope of the skill that the Yardratians have as of late in comparison to what Dende can do, if you try it on a Saiyan, it's not sufficient enough to produce a Zenkai-like effect if you heal them. It just means that it heals an injury, like anyone else. After this, Goku decides that this might be the best time to head home and surprise his crew with the new powers that he has. Pibara thanks Goku for his time here and wishes him well. Perhaps he could come back and visit sometime. Oh, Pibara, you should understand by now how fickle Goku is, really. Goku vanishes from Yardrat and arrives back on Earth at Kame House. The gang are astonished to see suddenly Goku here in Roshi's lounge, but they are more surprised that he didn't choose to go to his own place and greet, his wife and son. But he explains this because he's not quite gotten the handle of his power and the instant transmission from such a great distance. He basically had to really lock onto a place that had a lot of energy around it, and this fitted the bill. With that, he does indeed head home to an awaiting family, looking understandably a little apprehensive. Frieza has been slowly repairing his robotic body with more and more parts that were superior to the slapdash job that the bumbling Freezer scientists had done when they were frantically trying to save him. Now with time to focus, he had at least gotten an appearance which was less mangled and random looking, and it looked a bit more in sync but still not quite Frieza. But there was no mistaking that he did look a mess. But at least now he could blend in a little more, with less of a chance that a former soldier of his would recognize him. This was quite refreshing for him, as it enhanced the idea of starting anew. That being said, he hadn't forgotten about that Goku person. All this upgrading, having to sneak around, streamlining of his body, was in readiness to one day face Goku again and tear him apart for all that he's done. Ideally in front of his loved ones, oh yes, that would be the day that he would look forward to. It isn't the days of him conquering worlds for profit anymore, or anything like that, but Goku, right now, was his only constant, of sorts, that he had left. And yep, that sounds like your typical Dragon Ball antagonist after sparring with Goku one time, doesn't it? As that was going on, King Cold had proceeded with his third iteration of creating the most superior being, other than himself of course. The project labelled Trojan was near completion, and even though it would be a while yet before it was awake and moving around, alert and mobile, all of the previous instances from Cooler and Frieza's upbringing were accounted for and corrected.
I do believe that I have done it. Now hopefully I can retire, and my legacy will be assured for eons to come.
He touches the container where the Trojan project is gestating.
Do not let me down, my son.
Somewhere out in the depths of space, Frieza has the compulsion to feel a chill and sneeze. He feels something deep within him. Kind of like how he feels with his brother at times. Something filled him with dread that he could not, or didn't want to, explain away. With Goku back at home, Gohan offloads the information that Trunks had told him about the androids, as well as saying that before that date, he would also need to take this medicine to avert something bad from happening. Goku takes the vial and inspects it.
And you're sure that this guy was on the level? Nobody seemed scared of him, Dad, and he was keen to tell us, despite Vegeta scaring him somewhat.
Goku nods again.
That sounds like Vegeta, alright. I don't think I need this, though. The Art Radiance taught me something really cool. How to heal myself.
Gohan is amazed to hear this. His dad knew the same power as Dende did, seemingly. How cool! Placing the medicine down in a drawer, Goku rushes outside to show Gohan the fruits of his training. Chi-Chi looks at the medicine in the open drawer and decides to place it in a much safer place. Anything that may make sure that she doesn't lose her husband for a second time needs to be taken seriously. Frieza, having spent most of the last few months evading planets under his previous control, decides to take a punt and lands on a cold planet to see whether he might be able to slip by undetected. This would make things so much more relaxing for him. He'd gotten lucky with Kit and the garbage world being under Frieza control, but would he be just as fortuitous on a more standard planetoid? When landing, the former Emperor feels instinctively like hunching over when he's walking around, donning his cloak with the cowl up, but this time, he decides to keep it down and try and regain some of his former swagger. He parks the ship up and proceeds to head to a place where he could perhaps get something to eat, having not had a proper meal, the meal that he would have once considered standard fare from his rich background, in what seemed like an eternity. However, he did not account for something. He may not have been recognizable as his older self, but his ship was. Frieza orders some food and takes a seat in the back of the restaurant, trying not to draw too much attention. One step at a time here. He's just glad to have a meal. Sadly though, not long after he began to tuck into his food and recall the glory days of fine dining, a fracas begins in the bar, where a young green-skinned girl had stolen something important from a rather plush-looking patron who was very, very big-looking. Frieza tries to resist breaking this up and just focus on his food, but it gets worse.
You alright, girlie? You're starting to really get on my nerves. Hand over what you took back, or else the only thing left of you that would be recognizable will be your hands!
The girl isn't fazed though, but other patrons are, as they begin to scatter, sending plates crashing everywhere, and any illusion of peace and quiet that Frieza had hoped to have were dashed. Frieza breaks the fork that he had in his hand into several pieces and gets up, storming over to the proceedings. The girl is slowly beginning to regret her actions, fumbling for the item, but then before she can hand it back, Frieza stands in between her and the patron.
Back off, droid! This ain't your predicament.
Frieza stands resolute.
Oh, I think you will find that you have made it my predicament by your constant prattle. Get out of here, or else I will make you.
The patron isn't scared, not being able to sense energy, and decides to dunk on this lunatic, which does nothing. The girl is surprised to see this happen, and uses this distraction to slip away.
Oh, you got some upgrades, do you, droid? Well then, I guess I gotta try a little bit of.
As the patron raises up again, Frieza grows tired and does a basic punch to the gut, which totally wins him and almost tears this patron into pieces. Frieza then suddenly remembers that he wasn't here to try and attract attention at the last second, and with a flick of his cowl, he plops some coins down on the bar, keep the change my dear, and walks out, spotting the girl walking away, trying to blend into the crowd.
I hope what you took was worth it, urchin.
The girl whips around to see it's Frieza and not the other guy.
I didn't need your help.
Frieza, doubting this thought hard, walks up closer to provide some further scolding.
It looks to me that you are absolutely begging for mercy. If it hadn't been for me, you might have ended up looking even greener in the face than you already are, like those Namekian filth.
The girl is utterly confused at this remark, but rallies herself.
Whatever. You gotta ride out of here then? I wanna hightail out of this dump. I've been stuck here for months.
Wow, what gumption!
Well, I would offer you a ride, but I don't help ungrateful little urchins such as yourself. Now, be a dear and run along and wait for the next overly generous benefactor of yours. I'm sure a girl like you can find one soon enough.
Frieza's ramblings are halted when he spots his ship being carted off by a coal transporter. Officers sprawled all over it, having recognized the craft parked awkwardly, and then spotting that there is a serial number of a vessel that was stolen by the escaping Frieza.
Oh, great. The girl's smirk returns. Was that your ride?
Frieza looks torn. He could easily regain the ship from these weak mooks, yeah, but that would go against what he was trying to do right now and blend in. There was nothing he could do right now, and she knew this fact completely.
That was so your ride, huh? Oh, tough break, bud. Now you're just like me. Unless you want to do something dangerous.
Frieza seems suspect. And what would that be? The girl gets up close and mutters in a quieter tone.
Meet me back here after dark, and we'll get your ship back. I know how to get in there. Plus, I'm small, and I know where they're gonna take it.
If you know this, then why didn't you try to steal a ship yourself?
Duh. Look at me. I'm not exactly subtle, nor did I have such powerful backup like yourself.
Backup? Backup? He? Lord Frieza? He has to swallow his pride for now, though, because this was the only way of getting his ship back. He really didn't want to have to go to all of the effort and bother to try and find a new one right now. I mean, he'd only just gotten used to where all the buttons were on his ship. Fine. You better know what you're getting yourself into, girl. The girl does the OK symbol.
Don't sweat it, old man. I got this.
As that's going on, Goku and Gohan begin their training with Piccolo, tagging in like in the original, and the rest of the gang also step up to the plate when it comes to dealing with the upcoming android menace. With Goku's greater understanding of spirit control and energy in general, as well as the ability to heal, the training is even more effective than before, with the gains that the trio get being even more potent than in the regular timeline, plus the fact they can heal up instantly and keep on going. Goku is fired up with his choice, meaning that he and his son can train together even more than what would have been possible before. You know, when they had to rely on sensu beans and they had a limited supply, it was so good. This then sparks something else to happen. Vegeta decides, after weeks of training on his own, to join in with the trio. The reason? Well, he can sense the difference in energy from when he last saw Kakarot on Namek and now. The gains he had gotten in particular was so profound that he demanded to know where he got this power and understanding. Goku then just casually tells him and asks him whether he would like to as well. How long did it take for you to gain this power, Kakarot?
I don't know, about 11 months or so.
Well, I'll complete this in 10. And with that, Vegeta begins his own training on Yardrat, finds himself surrounded by pink and blue beings who give off a very mellow and happy vibe. Now remember, this Vegeta currently isn't as receptive as his super counterpart, and this kind of thing really is not his style at the moment. Pibara has been informed by Goku about Vegeta and anticipates that this Saiyan will not be as hearty nor as nice as the one that he had trained up recently. That being said, Goku did big up Vegeta for being dedicated and focused, but not how he got that focused and dedicated, and that all of this is just to beat Kakarot and not for anything noble like saving the world or anything like that. No. The pair get down to business, the prince somewhat glad to be away from Kakarot for a while and to have some alone time, meditating just for a little bit, getting stronger because of that. Little does he know that this training is a lot more cerebral than he bargained for. While that's going on, Frieza and Chilai have waited until the cover of darkness to try and recover the former ship. Before they go ahead with the mission though, Frieza actually realizes something.
Well, wait a minute. Why can't I just fly over the fence? I can do that. It's not covered or anything. In fact, why do I even need you, girl?
Chilai looks to him with a blank stare.
I can do this.
She takes in a deep breath and starts to shout out for help before Frieza frantically silences her.
Okay, I get it. Just please don't shout again, it hurts what's left of my ears.
Chilai then decides to prove her point by grabbing a rock by their feet, hurling it above them towards the ship, and it activates an electrical field, vaporizing the rock faster than blinking.
What about getting out? Oh, that's easy. It's only a one-way protective measure. I think.
Frieza is bemused by how backward the security is.
Who would greenlight something like this? Something so arrogant and assured that they think nobody can get in?
Chilai points out to a sign nearby saying, Frieza Force Impound number 419, with the Frieza hastily scribbled out and replaced with Cold Force. Frieza chooses not to respond to that. Later that night, Chilai approaches the guards pretending to be a lost little girl, to which the guards try and calm down and find their parents. Oh, it'll be easy for them. And whilst that's going on, Frieza knocks them out, and they're able to slip in unnoticed. Chilai's actually surprised by this, that he didn't just waste them. She actually asks him about this. This makes him pause for a second though. Yeah, why didn't he just end these fools?
I guess I didn't want to scare you and all. I mean, I'm sure a child like yourself wouldn't want to see that.
What he just said caught him for a loop. Since when did he care about what a kid thought? Has he changed since being cast out by his father without knowing it? The old Frieza would never be so considerate. Chilai then rolls her eyes at this statement.
Been there, done that. Being where I've been, you see a lot of that. I wish I hadn't been, but I can't undo the past, so what you gonna do? Come on, let's just get out of here.
She walks forward to the ship, leaving Frieza still processing that show of tact. Weird.
Hey, you gonna look this thing or what, old man?
The empathic feelings are now swapped with annoyance by this remark. Keep your shrill voice down, girl, I'm coming. Frieza stomps towards the ship, opens it, and the pair slip out and off into space. Over the next few months, Frieza and Chilai begin to get to know one another. Although Frieza chooses to admit the fact that he was an emperor and he was Frieza. He just decides to say, oh, I have a name, I'm just a robot. Initially, Frieza just wanted to find a convenient planet to get rid of this girl, but over the course of their time together, the kid actually proved to be quite useful in finding stuff, as well as taking all the attention away from himself. And on top of that, it reminded him of home, to have a minion of sorts. Now, granted, she wasn't as subservient as the lackeys past, but having a cohort along for the ride was very nice to have after months of loneliness. With the pair of them drifting from planet to planet, they were able to score more and more parts and more credits for their ship, as well as Frieza's current frame. He was starting to feel a little uncomfortable in his own skin, and he felt the time was right to revisit an old friend. Frieza sets a course for the planet that he started his redemption arc on, the Garbage World, where he met Kit. Sure enough, Kit was still there, sifting through all of the waste from the Empire that he had managed to work for so long. The ship lands, and Kit walks out to see who was trying to bother him this time, only to see a familiar face.
Well, I'll be. I didn't expect to see you dropping in again, droidy boy.
Droidy boy. It felt for some reason so nice to hear that again. Somehow, for some reason. It was familiar. But he didn't want this guy to know that he got comfortable with him calling him that. I have a favor to ask of you. Me and my Passepartout here has scored some very interesting parts and components of tech, and I need you to upgrade me again. Kit looks up and eyes Frieza with careful thought.
What's in it for me?
Credits, what do you expect? Unlike last time, I've come prepared.
Well, that's a shame. Could have actually done with a hand around here. Alright, let's get you patched up. I'll give you the good stuff this time.
Wait, what good stuff? What? Were you holding out on me?
Sure did, droidy boy. I mean, honestly, you didn't expect me to hand out my best gear without credits now, did you?
Frieza's fist starts to spark in anger, but he then starts to see where the guy was coming from. When he actually thinks about it, he would have done the same thing if the roles were reversed. Chilai, meanwhile, is grateful for a comfy bed to sleep on for a little bit, as Kit is working on Frieza.
You came at the right time, pal. I've been given my marching orders from on high.
He points up figuratively. What? You've been laid off? How? Why would anyone care about this heap of a world?
It may be a heap, droided boy, but it's still my home. Or at least it was.
He motions to some crates in the corner.
I was just unpacking my tools. That is until you guys showed up. Say, where did you pick up the girl?
Frieza explains the barroom brawl encounter where they first met, as well as the lucky escape from the impound.
Well, I gotta tell you, pal, you gotta keep her with that one. If a kid like that can do the things that you said she can, she's useful.
Frieza looks to Chilai, fast asleep on the bed. Yes, very useful. He lets out a sly smile, hoping the mechanic didn't see it. He did. Hours pass with not much more words spoken. Kit continues his handiwork until he gives Frieza a slap on the back and tells him to get up and take himself for a spin. Frieza walks around for a little bit and gazes at himself in a piece of glass resembling what's left of the mirror. He looks much less muddled than before, sleeker, less lopsided, more symmetrical, and he's especially glad to be getting rid of that lump on his head. Very good, Kit. Those higher-ups are fools to be getting rid of you.
Thanks for reminding me, droidy boy. Your repairs finally got me to forget about that. I got about 14 hours until my replacement gets here. And I ain't got a ride.
No ride? Surely you have a craft to get parts and whatnot here. Why don't you have one?
Look around you. What parts do I need? Also, I ain't exactly a kind of people person.
Frieza then reminds himself where he is. Yeah, that's true. Chilai has been stirring, semi-listening to the conversation, and maybe suggests that Kit could tag along for a little bit, since he's got nowhere else to go.
We can always take you back to your homeworld, mister, and your family.
This is my homeworld, girl. I've lived here 40 years. Any family I had before are now long gone.
Come with us anyway.
Chilai replies with more pep now. She's started to wake up.
Who gave you authority to say who can board my ship, girl? Think about it, Tin Can. Kids are whiz with machines. You got yourself a personal handyman.
This makes Frieza pause for a second. The girl is right. It would save him a lot of time. He wouldn't have to keep coming back here again in time for an upgrade. He's got it right there.
Very well. So long as you pull your weight, you may accompany us.
Kit is stunned by this.
Droidy boy, you got yourself a deal. Now, be a dear and help me get my stuff on board.
He pats Frieza on the shoulder and walks to the ship to try and give it a good once-over.
Less of the droidy boy stuff, you. You are talking to your commanding officer now.
Sure, droidy boy, sir.
Oh, this is going to take some getting used to. With some time to spare before Kit's replacement arrives, he quickly spruces up the ship as best he can with his fleeting access to Cold Force tech. The replacement arrives and Kit hands over the keys to all the machinery he had used and the house that he lived in for, now, most of his life. However, just as Kit boards the ship to leave, the new Garbage World resident spots Frieza, or someone who looks like him, in the back of the ship. The replacement keeps her cool as the trio leave the world. Once they're gone, the new resident opens the domicile to see traces of components, as well as several parts from Frieza's old body, the one that was used to save his life back then. This just puts it beyond doubt though. Immediately things are starting to fall into place. They dust off a nearby radio and proceed to radio in their findings, which gets back to King Cold in the fullness of time. Back on Yardrat during said months, Vegeta has been struggling with the meditation, despite just about grasping the art of instant transmission. All of this sitting around and very little progress seemingly has begun to anger the prince. Pibara has constantly been telling him, the prince, that this is all part of the process of increasing control of one's spirit. It's a long and methodical path. You need to be less impatient. For the thousandth time, Vegeta, trust what I say. The prince scoffs at this and walks out of the training area, much to the shock of Pibara's assistants. Let him go. He will come around. Vegeta walks through the city trying to remember why he came here. Yes, that's right, it was to beat Kakarot. Now that he recalled that, he remembered that he said he would finish meditating in 10 months instead of Kakarot's 11. Upon further thought, and remembering he hadn't really had much access to a calendar, he actually managed to smash that. Despite not liking the meditating, he'd done it in 8 months. 3 more than what he did in the Moro arc, but I mean that's still not bad.
Good, I've beaten Kakarot after all. Soon I can be rid of these moronic pets.
Vegeta senses something which stops his blustering. What was that? The prince decides to concentrate. He recognizes an energy nearby, or what he thinks is an energy. It's a lot more distorted than what he was used to, but that basic signature, that basic energy pattern was the same. The trio of Frieza, Chilai and Kit had just landed on a nearby world in order to score a bigger ship. Kit's slow and steady upgrades to the ship, as well as the modifications to make it look different, had made it a much more aggressive beast to what Frieza had originally stolen. It looked the business, with fresh shrouding, and now it was in a place to try and maybe sell, to get rid of that trace, and maybe get a bigger vessel which looked even better. One where they could have their own quarters, and yes, you guessed it, a wine cabinet for the captain. Whilst that was being prepared to make it space-worthy, they were heading to a nearby eatery to celebrate their new start, when suddenly Frieza is slammed to the ground by a surprise fist attack. Kit and Chilai are darting around trying to see who threw that punch, and why? Vegeta, in Yardrat attire, is looming over them, as well as Frieza, who is scrabbling to get up.
You've made a big mistake coming here, Frieza.
Vegeta quietly growls.
Frieza?
Kit and Chilai splutter in surprise. They look to the droid, and with this fact, it all starts to fall into place. He'd never told them his real name. The prince decided to try his luck and see if in this new power he could get the win from Kakarot. Oh, what good news would it be to then rock up back to Earth and tell them that he managed to clean up Kakarot's mess. In the here and now though, in this back alley on a random planet, the air is so thick you could cut it with a space knife. The cat was out of the space bag. Frieza had been rumbled, and now his crew knew the truth about their commanding officer. Upon further thought in those seconds after Vegeta's punch, that revelation sort of hurt more than the punch itself. Chilai and Kit are left speechless, but then, Mostly out of instinct from her times as a street rat, Chi-Lai leaps onto the back of Vegeta and tries to choke him. But yeah, that goes nowhere. Vegeta is in destruct mode. He reaches back and grabs Chi-Lai from off his back and throws her to the ground, causing her to be covered in scrapes and cuts. Kit tends to her as both Vegeta and Frieza stare each other down.
Leave the girl alone, Vegeta. She has done nothing wrong. Your quarrel lies with me.
Since when did you care for other people's well-being? Where was that talk when you erased the lives of billions of people for no reason other than your selfish desire, including my own people?
Frieza here is feeling fiery and pushes back.
You filthy monkeys were more trouble than you are worth. Sooner or later, you would have ravished our civilizations and sent the galaxy back to the era of simple tools and where brute strength was the only currency. You were a menace to us all and needed purging from this universe. I was doing the galaxy a favor.
This doesn't anger the prince. In fact, it makes him smirk viciously.
So you would finally admit it. You admit that we Saiyans scared you. In that case,
Vegeta gets into position and powers up.
I will haunt you until the day you die.
Vegeta charges forward and the two of them begin to duel. All the while, Chi-Lai and Kit are left slack-jawed at the last 2 minutes. All the while, Frieza is dreading what will come next. Vegeta probably knows the power that Goku showed on Namek too. He too must be a Super Saiyan, and soon enough, he will unveil it in a fit of pure bluster fit for a prince of his stature, but the moment never comes. Frieza's anticipating constantly a huge leap in battle power and the golden hair, but it never materializes. What's going on here? Frieza decides to charge up a powerful punch to the gut, which wins Vegeta considerably.
What the?
Frieza then grabs the prince, throws him in the air in a suplex, and sends it crashing into the rubble of the sidewalk. Frieza turns around to see Vegeta still there, seething.
Go ahead and show me that Super Saiyan power. I bet you're gagging to show it off like your friend did. Get it over with and satisfy your base pride, monkey.
Instead of a golden aura, Vegeta explodes with anger, and this results in a massive crater, which obliterates the alleyway as well as the buildings around it. There is panic in the streets, as hundreds of people are fleeing for their lives. Vegeta is covered in dirt, and his clothes are torn, but he is staring transfixed at Frieza, looking wild.
I don't need that power to end you.
Frieza isn't impressed.
Oh, I think you do. You just don't want to admit it to yourself. You got desperate to show off, didn't you? You're half-baked. You haven't learnt it yet. Oh, Vegeta, you should have let me alone a little longer. You've made a big mistake.
Vegeta then charges up, looking absolutely animalistic in his frustration. He calls upon his Yardratian training, trying to procure something, and he does. A clone of himself to aid him, which is a perfect copy, one of the examples of said training, and together the two Vegetas try to take down the former Emperor. But this time, Frieza is actually trying to fight back. Frieza is indeed surprised with how easy this fight is. What was in these upgrades of kits? I mean, whatever it was proving even more effective than what the scientists back in Frieza Planet 1 could do. In the end, the clone of Vegeta disappears in a puff of smoke, and Vegeta is left standing there, exhausted.
What? I don't understand. How?
Frieza elbows Vegeta in the head and grabs his throat.
Will you get it through your thick head? If you are not a Super Saiyan, then you will never win. And it doesn't matter anymore anyway. What's done is done. Read my lips, monkey. I am no longer your enemy.
Vegeta is struggling for breath and a valid retort, but can't come up with either.
If you want to dismantle my empire, be my guest. It is no longer mine. My father took it from me because I saved your friend's life.
You saved his life?
Ultimately, yes, but that wasn't my initial intent. I tried to fool the simpleton into asphyxiation in space, but that didn't work out too well for me, as you can probably tell from my disfigured appearance. But that wasn't enough to convince father, dear, and so here I am, without an empire, without purpose. Well, maybe one.
Frieza turns to see if Chi-Lai and Kit are still there, but they're long gone. Frieza lets Vegeta go, and he collapses to the floor, spluttering. After a few seconds, Vegeta gets up and chuckles.
Look at you.
You made friends. Some friends they were if they turned tail and ran at the news that they were friends with a tyrant. You can never escape your past, Frieza. I will end your father's work and everything to do with it. But hear my words, freak, and prepare yourself. When all of this is over, I will come back for you, and I will show you no mercy. Vegeta then puts his fingers on his forehead and disappears from view. Frieza is left alone. Again. Granted, Vegeta had let him live, but at what cost? All of the good work he had done to forge a new life for himself had seemingly been taken away from him, and now he had lost the closest thing he had to friends. Those Saiyans. He will never realize true contentment in this lifetime with them around.
So? Is he gone?
What? Who's gone?
That madman who destroyed this place! Is he gone?
Well, yes. A wave of relief comes over the group, who were keeping their distance.
Thank you. We feared that he would cause more havoc around here had you not shown up.
Wait, you don't understand,
Yeah. Good word, droidy boy.
Kit? Chilai! Sure enough, the two of them are among the crowd of onlookers, looking prideful at their boss's seemingly good deeds. Frieza's thinking, roll with this. Yes! I sent that monkey pecking. He regretted the day that he dared to disrupt the status quo of this place. He couldn't quite remember the name of the planet he was on, but no matter. It's time to use his former life's nous and do some kind of spin the facts. After a while of this, he had managed to convince the crowd that Vegeta was the bad guy here, and that Saiyans were still alive, ready to cause more mayhem to civilized society like they'd done centuries before. After a cheer, the onlookers begin to disperse, going about their daily lives, them giving further thanks to Frieza. Once they are gone, the only two people left are Kit and Chilai. They are still there, but have a neutral expression. So, you're not what we thought you were. To be fair, I never lied to you. I just chose not to say my name.
Pretty sure that's lying, droidy boy.
So I bet you're going to take our new ship and run, I expect. Leave me here? Go ahead. I've been abandoned once before, so just get it over with.
What are you talking about? We got it made with you. Why would we leave?
What?
Lucky for you, sir. You picked two people for your crew who aren't exactly goody two-shoes themselves.
Frieza is surprised. Usually in these situations, this is the part where the truth is laid bare. The person is left to rot by their former allies. I mean, what's going on?
I told you I'm not a people person, so your job offer of dumping me on that garbage world came at the right time. Without that sense of purpose, I probably would have done something unproductive with my life. At least there, I could be left to my tinkering in peace. I guess I have the Frieza Empire to thank for that.
Chilai shrugs.
Well, I've never known anything different. You came along and gave me a home and value in what I learned on the streets.
I think what the girl's trying to say is, we speak as we find, and we found you, it'd be alright. Frieza.
Frieza is actually really emotional right now. Now, I bet you're a little unsure of this, aren't you? Well, the thing about this is that I feel that based on Chilai's main alignment, she is a true neutral character, as is Kit. Chilai has done things for her own betterment, as well as those that she cares about. If that is threatened, she will aid them, but if it doesn't affect her directly or doesn't offer her gain, then she can take it or leave it. Frieza had been nothing but good to her and given her a place to call home, so as far as she's concerned, this Frieza is totally different to the one that she had heard from hearsay. And for Kit, same deal. Frieza's job that he had foisted upon him turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Kit was spared from social niceties and was allowed to indulge in what he was born to do, and that was to invent and tinker in solitude without interruption. For this pair, Frieza was their hero. Hero. That was a word he never expected to hear attached to him.
Come on, Captain,
Pipes up Chilai after a quiet moment.
let's go get our ship and get out of here.
Frieza snaps out of his personal reflection and nods in agreement. With that, the trio begin their preparations to head off into space with their new identities. As they're ready to leave though, Kit poses the question that needed to be answered.
Say, where are we going anyway?
If I'm to be truly rid of my former life, there are some things I need to fix first. I need to improve, especially if that monkey is going to be dogging me for the rest of my days. Set a course for Yard Rat. Hold up,
Pipes up Chilai.
you're going to avoid that guy by going to where he came from? I know it sounds daft to the extreme, but hear me out. That monkey has now got the bit between his teeth. I know Vegeta. He will stop at nothing to go after my father, and whilst he's off causing him all sorts of grief, good, I will get stronger and then finish the job. If the prince could improve that much so quickly without turning golden, then there must be something to those weird creatures.
Kit mulls this over.
Alright, setting a course for Yodrat.
And with that, the new ship speeds its way there. Meanwhile, Frieza's suspicions proved absolutely correct. Vegeta is now training on a random planet with a decent gravity level and atmosphere. Those Yardratians had taught him enough. He didn't need to go back to them. He didn't need any more of that nonsense, especially since Frieza was left lingering about the place. His goal now is to attain Super Saiyan on his own, without Kakarot's help. Prove Frieza wrong, and then tear down that empire before then ending that monster's life, and avenging, finally, his people. With Vegeta busy, Yardrat was left wide open for Frieza to counter. Meanwhile, on Frieza Planet 1, King Cold's latest project has been unveiled and outsteps a small figure, whose appearance is similar to Cooler and Frieza's before him, but more angular. The purple accents replaced with silver and cream. Trojan is born, and King Cold couldn't be any more thrilled.
Look at you, my boy. I can already see it. You won't disappoint me.
He actually had just cause to think that. Having seen Frieza reach his final form, all the information that was gathered from that transformation during Frieza's life-saving operation before had been planted in this third son. Even in his first form, Trojan was as strong as Frieza's final form, and when Trojan reaches his own final form, he's going to be mighty. Nobody will be able to stop him. Not Frieza, not any Super Saiyans, not even his own father. I mean, hopefully that third scenario never comes true, of course.
All right, son. It's time to get this galaxy back into some sort of order. Let's get to work.
Yes, father. On the way to Yardrat, the trio had gotten to know each other a little more, with Frieza leading the charge, fully disclosing his past and not leaving anything hidden from his allies in case anything slips up again. I really thought I'd lost you both. Without you, I don't know what I would do. Things before meeting you were very dire. I was broken, aimless, and alone. It was awful. The mood is very somber before Kit lightens it up.
Come now, droid boy. Why you gotta bring down the mood?
I have a name, Kit. You don't have to call me that anymore.
I know, but it's kinda hard to get used to. I will in time. Just give me a while. I'm not exactly one to change.
Kit had also chosen to open up with his past a little more, and his past was also little in detail.
I used to be one of those kids who liked to play with random junk. Nobody would really talk to me, but my mom, that was okay. I didn't want to talk to them. In the end, when your father was on one of them recruitment drives for mechanics, I leapt at the chance. I was stationed at that garbage world 40 years ago, where you found me, and I never looked back.
Frieza was very confused.
You were okay with being alone with nothing but trash for company?
Kit shrugs.
So what else was new? I was around trash before. At least this trash didn't talk back and actually left me alone.
Chilai then talks about her younger years. There's a lot of soul-searching and bonding here. And yes, before you say anything, I know we don't know much about her already, and if we get actual lore added to her in the future from official sources, then we shall defer to that. But for now, let's have a little fun. She always had a sense of adventure, and when her planet was ravaged by the Freezer Force, not Freezer specifically, but one of their battalions, she was separated from her parents and had to make it on her own with various strangers helping out along the way. She had slowly gotten more and more used to being on her own and not relying on anyone else.
Most of the time, people I relied on would just leave. Oh, just be a moment, and wait there for a sec, will ya? They never come back. One day, it clicked. Chilai, it's time for you to grow a spine and fend for yourself.
She doesn't look sad or regretful at this.
I didn't mind being on my own. I liked my own company, and I learned a lot of things from people who were cool and didn't abandon me. If I never find my parents, oh well, things happen.
Both Kit and Frieza are very stunned by this young girl's pragmatism and somewhat blasé nature to things, but before they can probe further, the ship indicates they are now fast approaching Yardrat. When they disembark, they are met by thousands of small creatures who are looking stern and serious. They're not going to be just simply able to walk in here, clearly. Chilai is very perturbed.
I thought you said they were chill, old man.
Frieza is irked by the comment, sure, but He is just as confused. They are supposed to be chill. I don't understand why they're acting like this.
I do,
Says Kit.
I bet they can't stand your ugly mug.
Sure enough, as they walk forward, none of the Yardratians, who are usually welcoming like they were with Vegeta, are really registering them. Eventually, one giant example of them appears and looks neutrally down at Frieza. For minutes, there is nothing going on. Frieza and what is Pibara simply look at each other, before the former blinks first. Well, do you have anything to say? A few seconds lapse.
Yes, I do. You have come a long way, Lord Frieza.
There is a commotion amongst the crowd. Lord Frieza, he's here. Is he going to destroy them all? Is he here to blow up their planet for no reason? Or ready it for auction or something? Why is he all robot-like? What's going on? I see you have figured out who I am. You are a perceptive one, aren't you? I always heard that Yardratians were weird little imps who performed parlor tricks. However, I seem to have met one of your recent graduates. He was rather feisty, I must say.
Pibara nods slowly. Ah, yes, Vegeta.
The commotion starts again. Vegeta? He met Vegeta? He won? How? Vegeta was really powerful! What gives? Where is he now? Well, are you not going to wheel him out to fight me again? He did want another piece of me, that one.
Vegeta is not here. In fact, he has no intention of returning to complete his training.
What? All three newcomers are stunned, but also internally relieved.
I am disappointed by this fact. He had so much potential and improved so much in his brief time here, but his mind was clearly fixated on another goal. Something to do with you, I suspect.
Probably my father and whatever scheme he's got in the works. Also, you can drop the Lord moniker. The Frieza of those days no longer exists. More mutterings from the underlings.
What brings you here, then?
I think you already know. The elder Yardratian chuckles.
That I do. I sense your purpose is not to cause harm, but you must prove yourself to be true before we continue with this conversation.
Without warning, Chilai lets out a scream and is grabbed by a giant creature. In an instant, without even thinking, Frieza speeds towards Chilai and grabs the girl before she can be pulled away, and then surveys the creature. The two entities stand still before the creature transforms into three Yardratians who leap downwards, bow to Frieza, and just casually walk away.
That proves it. I will train you.
What? What did that prove? You?
Oh, it proved everything I needed to know. The Frieza of old would first off never help anyone, and even if they did, they would resort to violence and retaliation. You did the exact opposite of what I had anticipated, without a second thought even. I was right. You have changed.
Pibara now breaks into a smile, and with that, Frieza's training begins. Meanwhile, we cut to Vegeta, busy training on a distant planet, desperate to turn into a Super Saiyan. Months have passed since his encounter with Frieza, and little progress had been made. He had considered briefly to return to Yardrat to finish his training with Pibara or whatever, but thanks to his stubborn nature, he didn't do so. Instead, he got angry and bitter, and only through those emotions did he finally crack through the glass ceiling of Super Saiyan, and he bathed the lifeless planetoid that he was on with its Saiyan sun, the light, brilliant, and fierce. With this, Vegeta looks to his fist, and he smiles.
Cold, you are mine.
Little does he know that he is being watched by someone. A green, bulky mook asks this creature something.
Master, is it time yet?
No, let him get even more brazen. I like my monkeys when they are at their most prideful. It makes their fall from grace all the more satisfying. The ship continues to hover above the planetoid, watching Vegeta outside of his energy sensing field. Back at Cold Planet 1, Trojan is getting acclimated to life outside of his pod. He was also getting used to the trappings of a kingdom. He could be often seen simply living a hedonistic lifestyle, all the while taking in the studies that Berry Blue had laid up for him. Berry Blue didn't really take a liking to Trojan. She really did miss Frieza. He was so much more straightforward, easy to tease. Trojan, he was very matter-of-fact and no fun. Cold looked in on his son from time to time and thought that he was making good progress. His power was mighty, and his schooling was rapidly bearing fruit. Soon, it would be time for him to go out into the field with his father, a sort of take your son to work with you day. Oh, as luck would have it, a message comes through from a minion. King Cold, urgent message for you.
I will be the judge of that, underling.
You may go now and leave me in peace. The mook salutes and leaves Cold with the message pad, and he listens intently to the recording. Urgent, eh? The sound file plays, and it's that message from that new garbage well from the earlier part, remember? That new attendant? It came with a picture attachment, and Cold's eyes, once he sees it, are transfixed with astonishment. Freeza? Yeah, those parts. He would recognize them anywhere. He had spent weeks glued to the hospital observation deck, seeing his son clinging to life, being pieced back together. He was so worried back then. Back when he cared for that disappointment. Underling? He shouts back. The mook runs back and salutes.
You are right. This is urgent news. Which planet did this message come from?
One of the distant garbage worlds, Your Majesty! The coordinates are on the message. The king smiles menacingly. Here. He chucks a silver ampule, their currency. For your trouble, and for making me happy. Run along. The mook is thrilled at this bonus, and runs off in delight.
Oh, Freeza, wait till you meet your new brother. He's to die for.
The king enters Trojan's quarters and begins to fill in his third son. They're going for a little trip to a garbage world. The hunt for Freeza begins. 6 months later, Freeza's training has progressed well. In that time, Pibara had learnt many things about this new Freeza. He was a lot more calm and at peace, genuinely worried for his allies' well-being, far from the despot he was before. He had also focus and great power, despite the mechanical limitations. Chilai had also dabbled in some of Pibara's training, but only in a casual capacity when she was bored, and it was something to do. She was finding this tedious most of the time, but luckily, she had been able to find some Yardratian children to play with, and made some friends. The first friends her age that she'd made in a long time. This place was a little quiet for her taste, but it was alright. As for Kit, he had taken himself to becoming the repairman of Yardrat, fixing a lot of the apparatus of the planet. Only if he was left alone to do so.
Listen here, you little imps. If you keep the conversation to a minimum, we'll get along famously.
Back with Freeza, Pibara could sense a great power forming inside his new student. He wasn't sure whether to tell him or not, still wary of his past life. Would he turn on them once he found out this new strength? He needn't have worried though. Freeza already knew that something was happening. This was the first time in his life he had taken training seriously. He was born strong, but never knew how to focus or apply himself properly. Thanks to Pibara, he had done so. He felt much stronger.
Remarkable. The monkey wasn't kidding. This training is unreal.
He is astounded with the efficacy of this power. Pibara chuckles. Oh, this is just the beginning, Freeza. I have much more to show you. You can build on this with some of our loophole flourishes. Freeza asks what these are, and he is presented with 4 of them, as we know now. Traits of Yardratian: gigantification, healing, copies, as well as instant transmission, that being the most basic move. Decisions.
That's well all and good, but I wish for you to train me in a more direct fashion.
Pibara shakes his head. Alas, Freeza, Vegeta wished for the same exact thing, but I cannot do that. We are not physically strong beings. You would snap us like a twig in a second if we went toe-to-toe in the traditional manner. For that, you will have to take that up on your own. Freeza clenches his fist in anger. Curses! I am surprised that you hadn't figured that out already. People are so impatient these days. So now, his days were spent training on his own, as well as some further meditation with Pibara. In that same time, Cold's investigations into his second son's whereabouts were heating up, with the new garbage world attendant who gave him the message in the first place describing the ship that had left, and that said ship had then been tracked to its latest owner, before said owner being interrogated and then eviscerated by an obsessed Trojan. Cold being just a little bit annoyed at this impertinence.
Now, Trojan, we don't have to be so extreme with every single clue we come across.
Sorry, father. I am just dead keen in meeting my brother.
King Cold calmly laughs to himself.
As am I, son. Soon enough.
As for Vegeta, he is refining his Super Saiyan power, and it's going very well. But before he decides to find a different planet, one with a higher gravity to train on, he is accosted by the owner of a ship. The owner, Vegeta recognizes. I knew you would show yourself eventually. Cooler smiles. It seems that you and I have mutual interests now. What say you would discuss a joint venture in ending my father's overblown legacy? As the dust settles with Cooler and Vegeta's alliance, the two of them now have to figure out a plan as to what to do in terms of dismantling the Empire. Cooler knows the ins and outs of the machinations, having been formerly in Cold's good books, educating into succeeding King Cold obviously, and unfortunately for him, it didn't work out. Cold had deemed him too similar to himself, someone who could potentially undermine his own efforts. Remember, Cold thinks that he's the superior being, so he doesn't want someone else being too much like him. As such, Cooler was cast out, and that led to the creation of Frieza, who was far more tyrannical, far more effective in terms of planet acquisition, and different enough for Cold to be the wise teacher. Vegeta nods, but then questions whether Cooler would be powerful enough to even be worth working with.
From what I know, I could take you down in 2 seconds flat. If your brother hadn't found a way to upgrade his entire body, I would have done away with him much earlier. What makes you so sure that you're even useful? Oh, Vegeta, you Saiyans are so quick to judge power. I can show you exactly why I would be helpful for you. How would you like me to show you? Through words or...
He yells, and the ground of the planet starts to shake. Cooler's body grows in size, and protrusions begin to extend, creating a brand new body for the being. He is transforming, I think you can tell, into his 5th form.
There's another transformation?
Cooler indeed has changed into a much more powerful being.
Indeed, Vegeta. You seriously thought that what Frieza and I have was all we had? I managed to discover this power after being cast away to the shadows. It was fueled by malice, by revenge, and that drove me to deeper depths of power I never thought possible. My father was wrong to doubt me. Now come at me with your own power and find out how tough I am.
Vegeta does just that, and powers up to Super Saiyan, and he is more than happy to oblige this request. Since gaining this power, Vegeta's confidence had been regained after being shaken and after being thoroughly beaten by Frieza, despite his Yardratian training. But not long after the battle started, it was pretty clear that Cooler's 5th form was stronger still than Super Saiyan. The Prince was being pummeled left, right, and center, and facing another defeat. With a mighty slam to the ground, which created a crater 20 foot deep, Cooler stands above it and calls a halt to proceedings. He had seen enough.
I think I have proved my point. Now come, we must heal you and discuss our plan further. Do you need a hand there, Prince?
Vegeta grunts in pain and annoyance. Cooler takes that as a yes. This was going to be a very arduous union of minds, wasn't it? Meanwhile, things are going much more harmoniously back on Yardrat. Since Frieza was not able to find physical training possible from Pibara or his followers, since the creatures weren't exactly the toughest of individuals, Frieza had chosen to focus instead on the ability to make copies of himself from which to train. Pibara did take a note of this choice. Interesting. That's exactly what Vegeta chose to do for the exact same reason. It does seem that despite being very anti-Saiyan, your minds are quite alike in what you wish to better yourselves at. Frieza curses under his breath. Perish the thought that he was becoming one of them, those filthy monkeys. But in the end, he was right. By making copies of himself, he could better refine his powers directly and become greater than before and find his ideal outlet for his studies. He could finally also put to bed that stamina bugbear. He could feel his energy was much more focused than before, as well as steady. He didn't really improve his techniques per se, since all this training was kind of more about balancing oneself instead of being a traditional martial arts school. In any case, by sundown, Pibara could see Frieza training with copies of himself out on the outskirts of the city, continuing to refine his power. One night, when he arrived to observe his pupil once again, he saw something wonderful. A golden flash was seen, but it did not come from the setting sun. It came from Frieza. He has truly changed. More months pass and we head back to Earth because now is the time for when the androids were supposed to arrive. Without Vegeta there, not even to make the save, who hadn't been actually seen for ages, our Dragon team had no choice but to deal with this potential menace without him. Either way, this pretty much occurs the way you think it would. We get to Android 19's fight with Goku, and the Saiyan is starting to feel the effects of the condition. Krillin throws him a senzu bean, and that does nothing, so Goku has to resort to his healing powers. Now, The big question here is, does this actually help? The answer, not really. Goku had used this power on himself too much, it turns out. He was feeling the effects of diminishing returns. It's true that he had used this on himself and his allies to speed up training instead of relying on sensu bean runs, but after using this technique hundreds and hundreds of times on himself in particular, its effects were starting to wear off. It had gotten less and less potent and required more and more time to actually get the same results. In this setting, he had little or no time to remain stationary and heal himself. As a result, all he could do was buy himself some time. One thing was for sure, he could not fight at full power anymore. With Vegeta not arriving anytime soon, our heroes are getting into a lot of trouble. At the same time, King Cold and Trojan had gotten closer and closer to finding Frieza and have him pay the ultimate price for insubordination. Their efforts had led them to a derelict world. A call from a Cold battalion had informed them that Cooler wished to discuss something with his father personally, a possible truce, and joining of minds in the effort to stomp out Frieza. Cold chose to humour this disappointment and introduce him to Trojan at the same time. The fact that Cooler recognised that Frieza was a failure was enough of an olive branch to get his interest. And if all else fails and Cooler is as stubborn as ever, his younger brother can put his mind to rest forever. Cold, Trojan and Cooler meet each other, the latter looking stoic and standing tall.
Well, well, I never expected to see you again, my son. Tell me, why did you wish to disturb my royal duties?
I come bearing news about Frieza and... what is that thing?
Don't be so rude when you're talking about your brother.
Brother? You mean... don't tell me you made another replacement?
That's right, brother. I am both yours and Frieza's replacement. I am Trojan. Nice to meet you.
Calm down, son. There'll be time for theatrics later. Now, to business. Where is Frieza?
With that, Cooler, fueled by Vegeta's intel, informs them that Frieza is most likely hiding out on a planet called Yardrat. Vegeta had no patience left for those creatures. They had failed to provide him with any more useful training. They couldn't even get him to Super Saiyan, and so their fate mattered not to him. It's cruel, I know, but Vegeta really wanted to be Super Saiyan and to be Frieza, and with them, he got neither of them.
So, that's it. We shall set a course of Yardrat in due time. Now, say goodbye, Trojan.
Yes. Goodbye, father.
No, you're meant to say goodbye to...
A beam blasts its way through Cold's chest plate, and he collapses to the ground, spluttering.
Trojan! What is the meaning of...
Oh, father, it's quite simple. I grow impatient. This investigating is far too tedious. I wish to be a little more...
He aims another beam at Cold's heart.
to the point.
With that, Cold is no more. Cooler did not expect that. Not only did he have to see his father pass right in front of him, but he wasn't the one to do it. Who was this monstrosity? Trojan's glare turns back to Cooler.
Now that blusterous oaf is out of the way, let's get going, brother.
But why would you do that to father? It makes no sense. Do you have any idea what you have done?
Trojan looks quite twisted right now.
Don't lie to me, brother. You've longed for this day too. I know it. We are brothers. I am the ultimate upgrade of you and Frieza. I know how you think, and as much as I don't subscribe to your methods of waiting around in the shadows, we both have a hatred for our father. He talks too much. He waits too long. He is too by the book. Well, I say goodbye to the book and say hello to brute force. And yes, you can bring your monkey too.
Cooler's eyes widened. How did he know about Vegeta? Vegeta walks in and smirks.
Well, well, you're quite perceptive. Trojan, was it? It's a pity. You made a big mistake in taking out one of your own. Allow me to demonstrate why. Wait, Vegeta, don't stop!
Vegeta powers up to Super Saiyan and launches himself at Trojan, and the two of them begin a furious battle, which Trojan is actually having difficulty with. He had never had to face hardship in all of his short life, and for the first time, he was being pummeled, utterly and dominated completely. He hated this feeling. His eyes and expression were that of pure and utter fury, and Cooler, for the first time in a long time, was scared.
No, Vegeta, that's enough! Cease your jabbering, you! This weakling picked the wrong fight to find himself in. Now, it's time to end this. I hoped more from you, Trojan.
Trojan looks maddeningly at Vegeta.
Oh, I have more. This isn't even my final form.
Vegeta looks scared now.
That was his first form?
Trojan powers up and immediately becomes his second form, looming over the prince and then pounding him mercilessly until the prince is left knocked out and totally wrecked.
Sleep, monkey. All will become clear in time. Cooler brother, control your pet. We have a planet and brother to destroy.
Cooler gulps and follows Trojan to the ship, carrying Vegeta with him. With just a look, and from a distance, his armored squadron are told to disband for their own sake. Hours later, and Frieza wakes up alarmed. He rushes to Bibara's quarters, waking the master up.
Oh, Frieza, it's far too early to train. What's the fuss about?
Master, I fear something grave is coming. We must leave at once. I fear that I have been found out. I fear that Vegeta has betrayed you.
Bibara looks stunned. Vegeta? Betray them? Before he can utter a why, Frieza grabs the small master and tells everyone to gather to their ship to escape. Bibara looks calm throughout all of this.
Frieza, it's all right. We can handle this interloper.
What? How? How are you able to conceal an entire planet?
My dear boy, you have but scratched the surface to what we Yardratians are capable of. But I do fear that this might be the end of your time here.
There is no time to leave. The ship is too slow, and even if we did fly away, my friends would be sitting ducks.
Frieza suddenly remembered that he could breathe in space, but his friends could not.
Frieza, breathe. Remember page 1 of the Yardrat Guide.
He puts 2 fingers on his forehead.
Now go. We will be fine.
Frieza nods and grabs his companions and tells them to get ready to leave. The trio get on board the ship, Chilai looking utterly tired and still in her pajamas.
Where are we going?
She semi-yawns. Far away from here, the furthest place I can think of. Frieza closes his eyes, takes a hand on the ship and his friends. He concentrates. He, Kit, Chilai and the ship vanish from the Yardratians' view, and they land on a planet with a yellowy sky, green creatures, and barren wastelands for miles around. They had landed on Vampa. Now, before you say anything about Vampa, the fact is that Vampa was on the outer edges of Frieza's sphere of influence. He would have known about it as a backwater world, something really not worth his time, but it was certainly characterful, it wasn't boring. So I think maybe at this time, for more reflection, Frieza might have actually thought this would have been a good idea. No one would have gone there willingly. When the gang come to their senses, Frieza takes a look outside. Good, my plan worked.
Plan? What plan would that be, droidy boy? To make us lose our lunch? Never, ever do that again with me around.
Kit feels very queasy after that instant transmission experience. It's not for him. Frieza closes his eyes and tries to sense any energy on the planet. Nothing bad. Good. Wait, there's something in the distance. Something similar to Vegeta. No, don't tell me that he's here. Well, if it is Vegeta, it's best to get it over with now. You two, stay here with the ship. It looks like Vegeta has followed us here. You'll be safe. I need to teach that monkey an important lesson.
Wait, Frieza, you can't just leave us here. Don't abandon me again.
You'll be fine. You both can take care of yourselves, my friends. He disappears and finds himself in the domicile of something, whatever it is. He takes a walk around this house. Well, it's more like a cave, and then sees a Saiyan. But it's not Vegeta. It's someone older looking. Then he sees another Saiyan. 2 Saiyans. Paragus and a younger Broly. Understandably so. Paragus is stunned to see living people other than insects and giant green ferrets for the first time in over 2 decades.
What are you doing here? Did you crash land too?
Frieza scoffs at this jabbering oaf and inspects the man's clothing, or what was left of it. Saiyan armor. State your name, monkey. Chilai gets a little uppity.
Frieza, don't be so mean to the guy. He must be scared out of his mind. I mean, I would be if I'd been on my own for this long.
This changes Paragus's tune considerably. This guy's Frieza? Frieza was here? The Frieza? But what had happened to him? He sort of looked like the Frieza he'd seen before, all that time ago, but he looked different. He tries to keep it together, not wanting to be all submissive just yet. This might be an imposter.
So you say you are Frieza? Prove it to me. If you are who you say you are, then maybe we can work something out.
No.
No?
I have nothing to prove. He walks up to Paragus, his smile increasing with every step.
You filthy monkeys are all the same. All you strive for is recognition, for a fight, to swing your tails around and assert yourselves for the sake of it. I have long since realized this. You Saiyans are nothing special. I don't see what Father saw in you. To me, you're like everything else, worthless trash.
Kit and Chilai are left in a mixture of awe and fear at how venomous their captain could be. Clearly, these Saiyans left a sour taste in Frieza's mouth. Paragus internally has gotten the message, but he still has one ace left up his sleeve.
Broly!
Sure enough, Broly, like in the original, flies at great speed towards Frieza and lands a punch on Frieza's face. Or at least, the after image of Frieza's face.
I almost felt that, monkey.
Chilai and Kit, as well as Paragus' mouths widen even more than before. Kit and Chilai hadn't seen the scale of the fight between Frieza and Vegeta firsthand earlier, but now they were feeling it, tasting it even. Broly, who had thought that he had gotten the best of this interloper, barely realizes what has happened before getting a roundhouse kick, sending him flying for hundreds of meters.
Who are you?
Frieza dusts his shoulders.
I believe my colleague has already let the cat out of the bag on that front. But yes, I am Frieza.
Paragus kneels frantically and begs for forgiveness, to which Frieza just waves aside, stating that he doesn't care for that sort of thing anymore. That part of his life was behind him. However, before they can carry on with their supposed briefing, they are reminded pretty handily about Broly, he's still a thing, who's getting angrier and angrier with being pummeled.
Broly, that's enough! This is not your enemy!
Broly briefly flinches before Frieza puts a hand out to stop Paragus.
Do not interfere. I'll put this giant ape to bed. There's been an itch I wanted to cure for many a year.
Kit is looking a little nervous, something he doesn't often exhibit.
Do it, boy, can it? This is pointless. We need allies against that maniac of a father of yours, not enemies.
Kit's words in themselves are pointless. The fight between Broly and Frieza begins, with the latter dominating, but it starts to become clear, even to the former Emperor, that this ape's power is increasing rapidly, almost by the second.
What is this creature? Is this some other Super Saiyan?
Super Saiyan? Whatever do you mean? There's no such thing. That's only legend.
Frieza is looking a little nervous now. This wasn't Super Saiyan? This was a normal Saiyan? What juice did this guy drink on this planet? Well, we know it's bug juice. Frieza's starting to get a little bit exhausted right now, but Paragus has seen enough. He did not want to be the man responsible for ending Lord Frieza, regardless of his status right now. He pulls out a remote control, and before Broly can attack anymore, a giant shockwave shatters the area, and Broly falls to the ground in agony. Chilai is left horrified, and Kit is disgusted. He rarely got perturbed by such things, but this really ground his gears.
Father, more like keeper.
Chilai hides behind Kit, and as for Frieza,
Good. You can tame that creature. It's a little barbaric for my initial taste, but you seem to be useful enough. Here's the thing. I have a father who is after my very life, and your son might be the ticket I need to put an end to his reign of terror and warrant for my life. You help me erase my enemies, I will make it worth your while.
Paragus would gladly take any ticket off of this dump, but he chooses not to be too willing with this now former emperor.
I see. Well, we shall accept your proposal, on one condition.
Oh, in a position to bargain, are we? Enlighten me.
Take us to a new world. We do not wish to be your lackeys when all of this is done.
Frieza mulls this over and nods, looking to his friends, and then back to Paragus.
Deal. It matters not to me. If I can't rule as I once did, then nobody shall. I think I know just the place for you. There are a few Saiyans there, even.
But more Saiyans survived?
I can take us there in no time, and then maybe you and your brat can start being useful. One Saiyan in particular would be of great interest to you.
With that, Paragus and the slowly recovering Broly are taken to the ship, and Frieza prepares to do the largest instant transmission jump he's ever had to do. Kit, as you know, Kit doesn't like this and he's bracing himself.
Why can't we just fly?
Meanwhile, Cooler, Trojan and Vegeta have arrived at the supposed location of Yardrat, only to find nothing but a pile of asteroids. Trojan is looking confused.
There's nothing. Who did this? Monkey, explain yourself.
It makes no sense.
Cooler rolls his eyes. In his mind, he had seemingly picked a dud of a Saiyan companion, and Trojan will soon have a tantrum with the monkey being his target. Oh no. Be honest, Vegeta. Was this a plot to waste our time? Cooler says. How dare you toy with us? Give me one good reason why we shouldn't kill you right now. Vegeta is getting angry, but he then remembers something. Those Yardratians, they were a bunch of tricksters. Perhaps this might be one of them. Fire a blast over there! He points to a spot of asteroids. Trojan is looking annoyed.
There's nothing to aim at. Are you blind as well as dumb?
Just do it. Trojan angrily tuts and orders a scared Mook to fire a ship laser in that direction. Sure enough, what should have gone just straight through into the abyss of deep space stopped. It connected with something. Something was there. The beam struck true. There, I told you. Now let's head down there and find Frieza. Trojan's got a grin on his face. He isn't listening to Vegeta. He then blasts the nearest window, sending some of his minions out into space, and he himself flies out and readies himself.
What is he doing?
Shouts Vegeta. Cooler knows what's about to happen and closes his eyes, turning away so as not to witness. Trojan is grinning with glee.
You think you could hide from me, brother? Well, you cannot. I shall prove to you now that I was father's favorite. This is your oblivion! Kia!
He fires a gigantic ball of ki at the planet's supposed location, and for a split second, the planet shows itself before exploding. Trojan, like his brother did in front of Planet Vegeta all those years ago, congratulates himself.
I did it! I did what father could not in record time! This is magnificent, brother! Brother dear, come watch! Frieza is no more! Isn't this what you wanted? Did I make you proud, brother?
With the blast shield shuttering the cockpit and pressure returning to normal, Cooler is just left stunned. Vegeta realizes now what he'd done, collapses to the floor. Cooler scowls at him. Foolish primate. Did you seriously think that freak would just grab Frieza and leave these creatures in peace? Normally, Vegeta would have reacted to that insult, but now he had the blood of the Yardratians on his hands. Sure enough, Frieza felt this. The craft then came to a rest on Earth. Before they had left Vampa, Frieza was keen to show Goku who was boss. But now that he actually arrived on the planet, a second later, Frieza's plans had changed. His robotic fist clenches. It clenches so hard that oil is seeping out of the casing.
Frieza? What's happened?
Mutters Chilai. They're gone. They're all gone. It's all my fault. Frieza sheds a solitary tear and then roars with anger, that golden aura from before overwhelming the bridge like a solar flare.
Vegeta, you will pay for this!
Sure enough, this blast of power had caught the attention of everyone on the planet. The Dragon team, who had just about gotten Goku back to his house, were now heading for Jiro's lab, where he was heading to activate 17 and 18. Everybody stops. Piccolo mutters.
No way. Is that Frieza?
Trunks is aghast. It must be! Why is he here now? Krillin rounds on him. It doesn't matter right now! Now we gotta deal with that maniac on top of these androids! Some time traveler you are! Tenshinhan then exclaims. He's moved again. He's heading for Goku's.
He's already there!
Gohan is terrified.
Dad, we gotta go help!
It's too late. We can wish Goku back with the Dragon Balls, but right now, we need to stop Jiro.
At Goku's house, Yamcha and Chi-Chi are tending to Goku, who instead of being bedridden, is now just resting in a chair, trying to heal himself as fast as possible and get back in the game. But thanks to his overuse of it over the training period, it's not really working. Suddenly, he can sense Frieza outside the door with some other people.
Yamcha, I need you to help. Keep Frieza away from me.
Yamcha gulps and tries to do his best, but Frieza just opens the door, picks Yamcha up, and tosses him out of the open doorway before looming over Goku in his chair.
Monkey.
Goku doesn't look at Frieza. Instead, he closes his eyes and aims a weakened fist in his enemy's direction. It connects, but only because Frieza had grabbed it. Kit, Chilai, Paragus and Broly, who are holding back a confused Yamcha, are expecting Frieza to enact his revenge. Now, I have finally seen sense. Huh? What? Before he can respond anymore, he can feel a familiar sensation coursing through his body. He was being healed. Frieza was healing him. In just a few seconds, Goku was back up to full power, but still utterly astounded. So was everybody else. Now I can already hear some of you saying, wait a minute, Masako, he was perfecting the art of cloning in the previous part. Well, this doesn't make any sense. Why did he suddenly change it? Well, I think it might be starting to become a little bit obvious to you over the past couple of parts. Frieza, not really one for making friends, was starting to change his tune. You do tend to change your tune after spending a lot of time with these two, and then proving quite useful. So Frieza decided one day to make a decision. Things started to change when things got to him. He realized that he might be dogged for the rest of his life, and if these two decided to tag along with him for the duration of it, or for long as they would live, then he'd actually have to have some kind of protection for them. They aren't exactly strong. He is kind of carrying them on that front. Therefore, he decided to change the focus of his training in terms of the traditional Yardratian stuff from cloning to healing. That way, he could be safe in the knowledge that if they were to get in a scrap, he can actually quickly do something about it on the fly. So I hope that actually clears some things up for you. And most importantly, Frieza does care for them. Just, he's very subtle about it. Or at least tries to be. Chi-Chi runs to her husband and bear hugs him. As for the Dragon team, they felt Goku's energy return to normal, and are equally astounded, but still focus on Jiro. It seems like Goku's going to join them soon then, I guess?
You mean you've been to Yardrat? That's right. How are they doing? I've not been able to check on them lately, and since feeling sick and stuff, I couldn't really sense them, but you know, what's up? Frieza?
Frieza's looking sickened. Kit pipes up.
I think what my boss is trying to say is, they're gone.
Gone? How?
Chi Liao is starting to feel the impact of this and is welling up.
Vegeta, he did it.
Goku is equally sideswiped.
No way, it can't be. Vegeta wouldn't do that. Why?
I don't know. Frieza just is looking really, really remorseful right now, and he's actually starting to well up. Goku, help me. This time, unlike before on the Frieza ship, Frieza was telling the truth, it seems. Goku then turns to Paragus and Broly.
Who are these guys?
They are monkeys, just like you. The tall one is quite prodigious, but frightfully inelegant. I need your skills in that martial arts stuff of yours to get him ready to face Vegeta and whoever he is shacked up with. Paragus shakes Goku's hand and comments that his hair reminds him of a Saiyan prodigy back in the day named Bardock, he thinks? Broly then follows suit, being guided by his father. Son Goku, nice to meet you. I am Broly. Goku spots the collar and asks why it's there. Paragus comments it's to control his son from getting out of hand. Goku nods, and without warning, grabs it and smashes it in his hand.
What? What are you doing? Without that collar, Broly will lose his mind! What have you done?
I don't believe in artificially controlling potential. I can sense a lot of it in you, Broly. I think I can help you get a handle on your power. But first,
He turns back to Frieza.
you need to prove yourself trustworthy.
Frieza closes his eyes.
Yes, Pibara knew you would say that. I will do whatever it takes to get it through your thick head that I am not the person I used to be. I care not for that old life.
Goku is curious at Frieza's brash attitude. This was different. If he had been on Yardrat, he must have been training. Ooh. Goku, honestly, under the surface, is getting a little excited. But there's one more thing he wants to ask. Why did Frieza choose healing to focus on?
That is quite simple.
To protect my friends. He turns to Kit and Chilai, and they're floored.
Well, I'll be. I guess the droid's got a soft spot after all.
Hardly. You two are liabilities and need all the help you can get. It's an insurance policy and nothing more.
Chilai sees straight through this and gives Frieza a hug.
Thank you, boss.
In the depths of what is now Trojan's ship, Vegeta is in his quarters. Well, I say quarters, it was more like a bolt hole, which was really meant for the average minion, but he was on his bunk looking absolutely sickened. What had he done? Despite not caring to return to Yardrat to complete his training, deeming it and them useless, He never intended for them to be erased from existence like that, so coldly, so suddenly, so much like his own people. What sort of ironic punishment was this? He doesn't shed a tear though, but he cannot help but have a somewhat vacant expression upon his face. Hours pass and his mood doesn't change. Before the door swings open, it's Cooler. Vegeta turns and spits onto the ground, as if to show what he thinks of him right now and his kind. Cooler thinks about making a quip about this, but chooses not to. Even he has been shaken by this turn of events. I wanted you to know, Vegeta, that I had no part in what happened. You could have stopped it. You and your transformation. Why didn't you? Cooler looks away, just like he did when Trojan blew up Yardrat. Silence cuts through the room. So, fear, just as I thought. You're nothing special. You can throw insults all you want, Vegeta, but it makes no difference. What happened has happened. It's not like you can go back and wish for all of this to be undone. Wait, Vegeta's eyes open. Wish. Dragon Balls. He had totally forgotten about them in the years that he had spent training and then working with Cooler. That's it. In his mind, he felt a torrent of relief, but he chose to stay calm, not attract too much attention. That's where you're wrong, Cooler. We can wish for this to be undone. What? What are you going on about? Has the melancholy meddled with your mind? Your brother was this close to achieving immortality by using Dragon Balls to wish for said trait. Cooler is unfazed. You're forgetting, Prince. Namek was destroyed, and the people of said world are now lost in the depths of space. What you speak of is sadly but an illusion. Earth has them. Earth? That speck of dust? Frieza was wrong to underestimate it. It is a world filled with powerful warriors. It taught me valuable lessons, and now it might provide us a valuable tool. Cooler, who had been standing in the doorway of Vegeta's quarters, enters fully, closing the door behind him, as if to show that he will listen. As soon as Vegeta had explained everything to Cooler, the brother of Frieza nods, having heard the prince's piece. He had not shown emotion throughout, choosing to let Vegeta have his say. Inside, he felt hope that maybe these Dragon Balls could maybe be used against his new twisted freak of a brother. But before he could process this any further, speak of the devil, Trojan summons him to the bridge. When he gets there, he is met with the image of second form Trojan cupping a glass of wine, looking out to the stars, almost aping their dearly departed papa. What kind of point was he trying to prove?
Tell me, brother, why do you put up with that ridiculous monkey?
He is useful. He has reached the power of the legendary Super Saiyan, as you experienced firsthand, and... He braces himself to say something he despised. Oh, so devastated, Lord Trojan.
I see. By the way, I thought I should enlighten you. We have changed our course. I have just announced it. It seems that we have recently gained new information about our brother's whereabouts.
Cooler scowls.
Oh, do you know it? It's a place called Earth.
Earth? Trojan turns to Cooler, his face looking much like King Cole's, but nowhere near as calm.
You seriously think that just because you're flesh and blood that I trust you? I cannot trust anyone. Not you, not my crew, not even my own now departed father. The only thing I can rely on completely and totally is my desire to blow my brother away, and maybe obtaining those Dragon Balls you mentioned.
Cooler is looking unsettled, something he rarely exhibited.
I heard everything, and now I'm in a spot of bother, brother. I am harbouring a monkey which is now no longer necessary. Be a dear and lead it to the nearest airlock and have done with it.
He motions a casual hand to the stars. Cooler doesn't move, nor does he speak. Trojan notices this.
Why do you not move?
Did what I say now not register? He is a Super Saiyan, the strongest being in existence. There is silence. Silence which Trojan hated. He was expecting his brother to add, Except yourself, my lord. But that never happened. This aggravated Trojan, and he walked over to Cooler and grabbed him by the neck, pulling him up to eye level, his eyes manic. I am the strongest being in existence, not that disgusting ape. Perhaps I didn't make myself clear. I am ordering you to throw it out into space. I am done with it. You are a fool if you think I will ever do that. He is too powerful to throw away like that. Trojan shrieks with fury and slams Cooler into the side of the ship. Not just one wall collapses, but 24 walls. Trojan walking after him slowly, before coming to a stop above the barely conscious being of Cooler. So, you're a goody-goody too, just like Frieza. If you defy me one more time, you will share the same fate as he. Now, sleep, brother. He turns around and walks slowly back to the bridge, Cooler falling unconscious, and the ship now heading for Earth. Speaking of Earth, our heroes were still dealing with Dr. Gero in the background. With a now revived Goku, he had taken Broly to the lookout to show him something useful, leaving Frieza with an important task, a chance to prove himself trustworthy. My dear crew, entertain our guest Paragus while I am gone, doing the monkey's silly little test. I won't be long, it has to be done.
You can count on us, droidy boy. We know how to handle a crazy Saiyan.
You can perhaps ask that bandit over there to help you. His power may be small in comparison to mine, but you never know. He might prove to be entertaining. Yamcha can see Frieza glaring at him and gulps. Oh man, he hopes it's nothing bad. Frieza leaves, and Paragus senses an opportunity. With Broly in the protection of Goku, Paragus could perhaps escape, and maybe do some scheming. After a few minutes, Paragus starts a little bit of small talk, putting Kit and Chilai at ease. They exchange stories about the Frieza Force of old, and at first, all seems really content, until Paragus asks them a question. Did Frieza ever tell you how much he loved destroying entire civilizations? The mood changes quickly. Even Yamcha was looking serious. Kit leads.
You seem to be awfully eager to tell us. Enlighten us then.
Paragus wasn't expecting this response, but he rolled with it. He then explained all of the sadistic acts their boss had committed, and I mean all of them, and all of the unspeakable dreams he had for his empire, which had been ingrained in every major Saiyan general going, which he had been back in the day. And Yamcha was even more scared of Frieza now. He had breathed the same air as this mass destroyer. With Frieza distracted, I could take your place as captain and lead you towards a much more prosperous existence. No longer hiding in the shadows like your boss does. No catch, no traps. What do you say? Do we have a deal? He outstretches a hand to Kit, who doesn't take it. The engineer looks ashen-faced. Paragus senses victory. I do hate to burst your bubble, friends, but you are dealing with the greatest villain the universe has ever seen.
Let me get one thing absolutely clear before you say another word. I don't take kindly to creeps like yourself.
Paragus's eye widens. What was that supposed to mean?
What? I ain't finished. I had a bad feeling about you from the moment I first laid eyes on you. Your kid's a good boy. Nothing like yourself. You treat him like he's some kind of caged animal. Strike one.
Chilai then steps up and walks to Kit's side.
On the first sign of an escape plan, you try to bargain your way out of a problem, mostly abandoning your own son. Strike two.
Paragus is looking a little concerned and is preparing to charge a ki blast to shut these oafs up. But then he's met with an arm lock by Yamcha. Strike three. You resort to violence against two unarmed and defenseless people. Looks like you're out of luck. He knocks Paragus out with a sudden chop to the neck. Kit and Chilai are mesmerized to see Yamcha, someone who looked so cowardly and meek, just become so brave and steadfast. Well, even if your boss is Frieza, there's no way that I could tolerate him trying to hurt you. Kit nods and pats Yamcha on the shoulder.
Yamcha, you're alright. But I must say, you could have helped sooner. I've never been so frightened in all my life.
Chilai then gives Yamcha the okay sign. Yamcha then asks why they would help Frieza of all people.
He saved our lives. He saved my life. He's not like the madman you once heard about. Trust me.
Yamcha takes what Chilai has to say seriously. Meanwhile, Jiro has arrived at his lab and began the process to activate androids 17 and 18, which is ultimately successful. Outside, the Dragon team including Trunks try to figure out what to do. Without Vegeta, the idea to go in all out is not coming up to the top. Trunks is slamming the door out of desperation, but is halted by a sudden arrival. I would stand back if I were you. They all turn to spot Frieza, or what looked like Frieza. Piccolo and Gohan are stunned to see the robotic parts to which the former Emperor had acquired, and he rolls his eyes. Yes, I know, I get it, I'm part mechanical. This is not the time or place. I am here to prove to your monkey friend that I am here to help. So what are we doing? Piccolo slowly explains the situation, still utterly bewildered that Frieza was here on their side. Frieza nods casually and positions himself by the door and about to fire, but then Gohan asks him a question.
Why are you helping my dad? You tried to kill him before.
Frieza closes his eyes. I did. There is no escaping that. I don't deny it. Nor do I beg for forgiveness. That would be pointless and insulting for you. What speaks more is the here and now, and what I must do to get it through your daddy's thick head that I am not the enemy here. My brother, though.
Brother?
No more questions,
Hisses Frieza before the door explodes and Jiro spots Frieza. This is when Frieza turns on the charm. Good day, dear doctor.
Jiro, was it? I believe that you are in the possession of some tin cans that cannot be allowed to exist. Speaking as one robotic life form to another, I'm afraid I cannot let you go any further.
Jiro nods.
I never expected to see you here, Lord Frieza, and looking so different.
You can drop the Lord moniker. That is in the past. I am here for your androids. Bring them to me.
Jiro laughs before opening the pods, introducing them to the Dragon team and Frieza, before then realizing why he had locked them away in the first place. And they rebel, opening 16's pod, and Jiro loses his head. Literally. 17 spots Frieza and is taken aback.
Well, I'll be. What are you, Tin Can? Another one of the good doctor's experiments? That wouldn't surprise me. He clearly rushed your design.
Frieza laughs his typical laugh.
Far from it, Pipsqueak. I am here to end your pathetic lives. You are in my way.
17, usually quite the boisterous fellow, decides to take up the challenge head on. 18 rolls her eyes and sits down with the now woken android 16.
What is the point of this, sister? Aren't we supposed to eliminate Son Goku and Son Goku only?
I don't know, big guy. Just let him swing his... whatever.
Meanwhile, 17 powers up and punches Frieza out of the lab, leaving the Dragon team overwhelmed. But wait, the Emperor hasn't even started yet. Good, you have some get up and go.
That will make your ultimate demise all the more satisfying.
It was quite clear to all present that despite Frieza's allegiance being different, he still had a vicious streak about him. As that was going on, Goku and Broly had teleported to the lookout thanks to Goku's instant transmission. Broly was mesmerized by the wonderful architecture on display and the silence. For the first time in his life, he experienced total calm. He liked this feeling.
Ah, Goku, I had been expecting you and your friend, said an amiable Kami.
Yep, this is Broly. He and I want to go in the time chamber and train.
Kami swallows hard, remembering the last time Goku had gone in there, when they were training before the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. Are you sure that is wise? You could barely go a couple of months in there, and I sense young Broly's mind being even more unsettled than yours was. But I do know that I can't stop you from going in, but I hope you know what you are doing. Goku nods, looking focused.
I got this, old man. I feel a strong power within Broly, and I want to tap into it and get him up to speed.
Kami nods and smiles, placing a hand on Goku's shoulder. I understand. It's been a wild ride with you. You've made this old fool's life rather exciting these last few years. Thank you. Goku is confused with the resignation in Kami's voice and why he said what he said, but he's then distracted by Mr. Popo, who is readying the door to the chamber. In a few seconds, Goku and Broly were inside, ready to train. Now, much like what we did in the What If Broly Was in the Android Saga series, Goku is planning a different tack. He is going up against a brick wall in Broly. He's also a guy who doesn't like to fight, something that was imposed on him from his father. So, like in the previous story, Goku focuses on building up Broly's defenses to make him basically an impenetrable wall. Only after a few months of this does Broly start to get the Saiyan twinkle in his eyes for fighting, but not before Goku experienced the raw and unstoppable force of a wrathful Broly. It had taken Goku to the brink of death before Broly stopped himself by the skin of his teeth. This had greatly strengthened Goku's power, as well as Broly's control in himself. Everything was coming up Broly. Meanwhile, the battle with Frieza in 17 is intensifying, with Frieza starting to toy with the android. The teenager is getting more and more aggravated, despite his Infinity Engine keeping him at bay from exhaustion. Frieza was just non-stop. "What is your deal, you freak? You got some infinite power thing or something?"
No, I take myself seriously. Something you seem to be failing at spectacularly.
With that, Frieza slaps 17 across the face repeatedly, much like what Goku did to him on Namek. It was nice to be on the other side of that for once. 18 and 16 were now looking concerned.
Frieza's power is increasing. This is bad, mutters Piccolo.
Why is that bad, Mr. Piccolo? He's on our side.
For now, Gohan. This is Frieza we're talking about. We're powerless against him. If he were to turn on us, we'd have no chance.
But what about Dad?
He's taken that other Saiyan to the lookout. I think I know what he's up to. He can't help right now.
As they're talking, Trunks is skulking around behind Android 18 and decides to use this diversion to attack her. "This is the end of the line for you, monster!" 18 turns and catches Trunks' sword.
Big mistake, kiddo.
She punches Trunks through several rock faces. Piccolo and the others sense this. Looks like they have to go help. 16 does not move. He is steadfast in his mission to only attack Son Goku. With Trunks, Piccolo, Gohan, Tenshinhan, and Krillin on 18, 17 can sense his sister in a spot, but Frieza will not let him bounce. Your quarrel is with me. You started this, young lad, and I will finish it. As that is going on, Kami communicates with Piccolo, telling him to report to the lookout at once to discuss something. Piccolo doesn't want to leave because he's in the middle of something, sensing that 18 is on the ropes. They could actually end this right now without Goku. But the Elder Namekian is insistent, saying that this could be a good counter to Frieza, what he has to say, as well as another threat looming in the distance. This gets Piccolo's attention. So, Piccolo breaks off without saying a word. In the distance, a Bugman is drinking the biomass of countless citizens, but is also focused on a battle going on hundreds of miles away. Could that be his siblings in trouble? Possibly. But he's too weak to help just now. Well, not effectively. He must feed still. But one power he can sense intrigues him.
I never expected to meet that one. This will be fun once I am ready to pounce.
With Piccolo heading towards Kami's lookout, the Namekian is uncertain about what will happen going forward. When he gets to the home of his other half, the likes of Kami is fully aware of the younger's strife.
I would have very much appreciated you not getting in my head, and instead asked me in person. But yes, this whole situation is bad.
Kami sadly nods and then mentions that it's about to get worse. There is another being lurking in the shadows, Piccolo, sucking the essence out of innocent people. Those robots that you are fighting against are small fry in comparison to that terror. Think of the damage that this could inflict upon the planet. That is why I called you here. I fear that I have no choice but to ask you one of the most important questions of my life, and possibly my last as you know me. Piccolo is left perplexed, but this is when he starts to cobble together what Kami is trying to say and stumble over.
What? You mean fusing? With you? Forget it.
Kami knew there would be a stalemate regarding this, and so he had to take a different approach. In this timeline, he has a little more leverage going into this than before, and I think you all know what that is. I understand your trepidation in this venture, Piccolo, but it's like you told the others. Having a being like Frieza around, who is far stronger than anyone here, including yourself, is a risky move. If he were to grow weary, like he so often did in the past, he could easily turn his boredom onto any one of you. If we fuse together, we might at least provide some compelling resistance in addition to what is going on behind that door. He motions to the door to the Room of Spirit and Time. You know, that place where Goku and Broly are currently training?
Why can't we just wait for them to come out? Why do I have to listen to your inane idea?
Kami looks sternly. I will not allow any more lives to be extinguished. Piccolo, this is not a request. This is an order from your god. Help me. Help Earth. This got to the Namekian quite sharply. Even though it was clear he would be a distraction before Goku and Broly appeared, he could get strong and maybe take out an android or two after dealing with this lurking monster that Kami had talked about. Fine, but I run the show in this fusion. You got that? Kami smiles. Good. This young one had matured quite a lot in the last few years. Thank you. Now, we mustn't waste much time. I will not stand in your way. I am but an old man whose time is passing. I will be more than happy to do my bit and cheer you on with what power I have left. Piccolo did find this rather touching, but the ritual commences, and within a matter of seconds, Kami's body turned to light and found itself fused with Piccolo. Kamikolo was born, and ready to take on any Bugman. Meanwhile, the Dragon team are witnessing Frieza tear 17 apart, and they don't know what to think. 16, who has done pretty much nothing this entire time, remains stoic as usual. And despite 18's plea to go and help her brother, he does not. She has no choice but to jump in and fight Frieza too. This provides the former Empress some interesting challenges. Well, it took you long enough to help your brother, girl. I take it you two aren't exactly close, or whatever it is you androids call companionship. 18 looks enraged by this. You have no right to assume anything, you monster! Frieza chuckles. If that was supposed to make me feel bad, then that was pathetic. I remember all the insults and rhetoric from those who tried to stop me in the past, and those were far more amusing than that. Come on, girl, give me something I can work with. 17 and 18 begin to fight in sync, and this gives Frieza the challenge that he wanted. The gang are debating about whether to actually help or not, but they are still hindered by the reality and constant thought that this is Frieza. They are being really stubborn. They just can't bring themselves to help him, even if he was actually helping them. We move our attention out into space. Trojan is anxiously awaiting the arrival on planet Earth. He had been rehearsing what he would say to his dear brother for ages, and thanks to Cooler's act of insubordination, he had managed to get some good ideas on his plate. He had also taken to staying in his second form most of the time. He liked this feeling of power, as well as the additional height, looming over everyone on the ship. After all, he was King Cold's son after all, and he spent a lot of time with the now departed king prior to, the whole deal in Part 7. But the crew of the ship did not consider him anything like their former king. They thought he was crazy. As I said, chaotic. Oh, the Empire? Trojan didn't give a hoot about the Empire. All that mattered to him right now was to get rid of Frieza, like his daddy wanted. He was taking that request far too seriously. As for what he would do afterwards, he had no clue. He hadn't thought that far ahead, and nor did he wish to. Cooler had been relegated to his quarters, not much better than Vegeta's. He was also kept under close observation by 2 guards outside. If he had so much as put a toe outside of his room unattended, Trojan would blast him away on the spot. As for Vegeta, he had to think of a plan to get under Trojan's nose and get the Dragon Balls before he could. But how? He too was guarded. All the prince could do was just play back the moment when Yardrat was destroyed. All because of him. Then, on the intercom, Trojan requested Vegeta's presence on the bridge. The prince, uncertain of what was to come. When he got there, Trojan greeted him cordially, as if he wasn't crazy.
Vegeta, I wish to thank you for your services, but I am afraid that you are no longer needed in this venture. My oldest brother wished to inform me of that personally, but I am afraid he's a little bit under the weather.
Silence fills the deck. Is that it? Trojan nods and looks viciously at him, whilst trying to keep up a sense of calm.
Oh yes, as a mark of my respect and my immense generosity, I have prepared a small vessel for you to head off into the stars, doing whatever you monkeys do. Just one little condition before you go. Please don't head for Earth, or else you might find yourself caught in the crossfire. Can your little brain handle that little humble request?
Vegeta looks at Trojan with vicious intent. Never, ever underestimate a Saiyan Trojan. He walks out, Trojan not paying any attention. Vegeta walks out, but the guards that had escorted him to the bridge didn't follow him. In fact, he isn't bothered the entire walk down to the hangar. This is too easy. Vegeta gets to the hangar and then sees a collection of ships, one being earmarked for himself, prepared to leave. Minutes later, Trojan can see that ship heading away from the main vessel.
Oh, Vegeta, if only your monkey brain hadn't let you down, you might have made a decent punching bag. Goodbye.
And gazes at the craft, but nothing happens. Trojan looks down at the switch and presses it again. Still nothing. More presses, and still more nothing. Then a buzz on the intercom erupts and emerges a familiar voice.
What did I just say, Trojan? Never, ever underestimate a Saiyan. It might just come back and blow up in your face.
Trojan is about to say something before in retort, then a sudden explosion rocks the hangar, sending dozens of engineers off into space, along with plenty of debris. In the chaos, the hole is sealed up, but before Trojan can utter a response, Vegeta's ship had disappeared from visual and firing range. Inside said craft, Vegeta smirks.
You seriously are as arrogant as your father, leaving me to my own devices thinking I would blindly trust you? What an amateur.
He sets a course for Earth, as fast as the little vessel can take him. Thanks to that explosion, he had bought the Earthlings some time, and finally been able to begin the repair the damage that he had caused our heroes. Next up we have Kamikolo encountering Cell, and that fight goes as well as you can expect, with Cell absorbing Piccolo's arm, that breaking off, regenerating. He gains enough biomass to now feel a bit more bullish.
This has been rather illuminating, Piccolo. But I have myself a rather important dinner engagement to get to.
Piccolo is about to spout a retort before he is overwhelmed with a solar flare and left dazzled. When the light dissipates, Cell is gone and is heading towards the Dragon team. Piccolo darts off in pursuit. When the Bugman gets there, he witnesses something that makes him sick to whatever he calls a stomach. He could see that his siblings are in grave danger. They are left struggling to stand at the feet of Frieza, who is looking a little scuffed up but triumphant.
No.
The insect hisses under his breath. Meanwhile, Frieza is waxing lyrical, as you would expect.
It's been a pleasure, children, but I have a bet to win, so goodbye.
Frieza is about to fire a dual death beam, the twins looking horrified at their sudden defeat. 16 is now looking worried himself, despite his desire not to intervene because, that's not Son Goku. He couldn't help but feel nervous.
Wait!
Said an unearthly voice. Cell leaps into view and stands in front of 17 and 18, the Bugman hatching a plan, one that involved changing his role a little bit.
I will not let you harm my dear siblings.
Siblings? Mutters 17, 16 looking a bit suspicious.
How could you be our sibling? You look something that we used to squish your own magnifying glasses at. Oh, brother, as absurd as ever. We are siblings courtesy of the late Doctor. I am here to save you from this freak.
Frieza lets out a laugh. Freak? I think you're one to talk.
For once, you and the runt are in agreement. You look quite frighteningly ugly. Now stand aside, or else you will share the same fate as your siblings.
Cell thinks for a moment and then formulates part of another plan to survive and thrive.
Brother, sister, if we combine our efforts, we will be able to win. I knew it.
18, trying to hide a disgust, retorts. Seriously? This guy is way too powerful for the both of us. How can you change that?
Trust me, sister. I have the perfect plan. Together, we will become stronger than anything you could possibly imagine.
This catches Frieza's interest.
Stronger, you say? You mean I might actually get a proper fight out of this silly bet of Goku's? Very well. As you were.
Trunks gasps in horror.
You mean he's gonna just go and let this happen? How can he just stand there and do this?
Little did they know that Frieza was doing exactly what Goku did with him back on Namek, allowing the former Emperor to reach his full power. Had Goku's presence in his life left more of an impact than he'd first thought? Before the siblings can react, Cell's tail extends and envelops them both, causing a gigantic flash of light to erupt from the scene, engulfing Frieza and a wide range around them. When it settles, what is left is a far different beast, what we know as Perfect Cell.
I have to hand it to you, Frieza. Your DNA is rather handy in this situation. Thanks to it, I have reached a level of power far beyond anything in existence. I have become perfect, and I have you to thank.
Piccolo lands amongst the group and is confused.
How? Frieza's never been on this planet before. How did he get his DNA? I am not from around here, Namekian. I am from a different timeline. Your lavender friend there can fill you in on how that works. In my dimension, Frieza did stop by, and thanks to that, you now witness me.
Back at Goku's house, Yamcha is looking absolutely petrified at what he can sense. Kit and Chilai ask what's going on to their new bandit friend, and all he can do is stammer something. Your friend has doomed us all. Indeed, in Piccolo's eyes, Frieza had let this perfect cell transform.
I knew it. We're too late to stop him. All we can do is hope Goku gets here to right this.
Frieza doesn't seem all that worried though. But he then gets a face full of Cell, with many flurries of blows being aimed at his direction, which leaves the changeling in a spot of bother. Cell is loving this feeling of dominance, as well as the fear that is emanating from the rest of the team.
You surprise me, Frieza. I thought you would have acted less like a Saiyan in allowing me to reach my true power. Have those monkeys really softened you up so much? You want to lose this badly?
Frieza spits out some of his blood and smirks.
Perhaps. Those Saiyans are rather unforgettable, aren't they? But ironically, you coming around has given me the perfect opportunity to test something out. An old friend of mine showed me the error of my ways of thinking I was the most superior being. Now, though, I know I am the most superior being.
Frieza lets out a roar, which shakes the ground. A golden flash bursts out from his body, and shining light pushes Cell back several feet. And when that light clears, Cell is left stunned. He witnesses Golden Frieza.
What? What is this? How is this possible? Your DNA doesn't... It can't!
Cell is left dumbfounded in the immediacy of it all, but Frieza is steadfast.
Quite simple. I trained. All that power left untapped. It's something wonderful.
With that, Cell's Saiyan DNA takes charge, and he relishes in the challenge. But this is not a two-way fight, not even close. Put simply, Frieza is dominating. Cell is left battered and bruised and left horror-struck, as are the rest of the Dragon team. So this was Frieza's plan, to show off this new power? Why hadn't he just done this before? The androids would have been gone in seconds.
What? How? I'm supposed to be the perfect being!
Frieza yawns and sighs.
You already said that, bug boy.
It's ever so tiresome. Now, how about you stop mewling and start listening?
What? How dare you mock me?
Frieza puts a finger up as if to shut Cell up.
If there is indeed part of me in that thick head of yours, then you will understand what I'm about to ask of you. Let's make a deal. Do you want to fight against something stronger than I?
Careful, Cell. Your Vegeta's showing.
Go on.
Cell was curious about something.
Tell me, Frieza, why do you persist with being a collection of metal and flesh? Surely a person of your esteem would want to be whole, to be perfect.
Frieza extends his arms and nods.
It is a reminder, bug boy. A reminder of my past. You may have part of me embedded in you, ill-gotten gains in my opinion, but I have moved on from your facsimile, from those simpler times. There is more to life than ruling over people. And besides, it is also a reminder that I am reliant on other people. My crew. My family. They are more of a family than I ever had whilst ruling this world, this galaxy.
Somewhere back at Goku's place, Kit and Chilai felt a sense of warmth course through them. Strange, where did that come from?
Oh, to think how low I've become. I never thought I would see the day that I would get so soppy over such trivial pursuits.
Cell is just watching, furious.
You fool! To think I would believe such tripe! Take this!
Cell prepares to charge and attack in blind anger and frustration, but Frieza smoothly lands another elbow to his gut, which causes the Bugman to reel over on the ground in agony, not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, you. One last chance, you annoying insect. Are you going to help, or am I going to have to wipe what's left of you off of my foot when I'm done?
Cell grunts in compliance. Very well. The Dragon team are left floored. Frieza, he becomes so soft, so caring for other people. What had he been through to get to that? Well, even Piccolo was convinced by this point.
Fine. He can be trusted. Sick as we say, mad.
Frieza at this point begins to tell the group, including Cell, about his brother, from what he can gather, Vegeta's folly, and the rest of the sordid exercise. We then head up to the lookout where Goku and Broly have now exited the chamber. Goku and his new friend were feeling buoyed up and confident after their training, and when the former sensed the situation, he could tell that Frieza had kept his word. He'd done good. There was no battling to be had.
Well, I'll be. Looks like we weren't needed after all. Aw, I was kind of looking forward to fighting him, but I had fun. What about you, Broly?
Indeed I did. Thank you, Kakarot, for your help. I feel much better in handling my hidden power. But I will say, it's a shame that it won't be tested. Well, hold up, big guy. Kakarot! Shouts a familiar voice. The pair turn around to spot Vegeta, of all people, staring back at them on the lookout.
Vegeta!
Stammers Goku. But then he remembers what Frieza had told them earlier, as well as remembering the look of pain on Chilai's face.
You better explain yourself. I've heard some really bad stuff, and it's got your name all over it.
Broly is looking just as seriously at the prince, mimicking his now teacher.
If you know what's good for you, you will leave me and my master alone and never come back. It is my fault, yes. Yardrat perished because of me, but I wasn't the one to do it. I will explain, but before I do,
Vegeta turns to Broly.
stand down your bodyguard, Kakarot.
Goku motions to Broly to calm down, and Vegeta then explains the whole thing to them about Trojan and why he's here.
Now you understand that's why we need to use the Dragon Balls before that freak arrives. I managed to give them the slip by transmitting here and causing my own trouble, and they're on a wild goose chase trying to find the craft that I escaped on.
Mr. P, who had been listening, then explains that the Dragon Balls are inactive right now since Piccolo fused with Kami. Thusly, that worry had been taken out of the equation. But another one arose.
Well, it sounds like this Trojan guy won't be all that pleased to hear about the Dragon Balls.
Exactly. I need to train as hard as I can to stop that hideous being.
Goku then motions to the open door that is the Room of Spirit and Time.
This should give you a hand. You could fit in a whole year's training in a day.
Vegeta grunts, and without another word, steps inside and the door slams shut. Well, we know what Vegeta's up to right now. With that, Goku and Broly transmit to the rest of the gang, and when they get there, they are met with a surreal sight. Frieza and Cell in deep conversation. When the others see Goku fighting fit and really healthy again, they rush over to him happy to see them, having sensed Vegeta bravely appearing on Earth and then vanishing again. What had happened? This mention of the prince catches Frieza's attention.
What? That monkey dared show his face here? Does he have a death wish?
Goku then explains to the Eyed Icicle about what he had said to him, and Broly just now, and this is enough to at least calm the Mech Emperor down a little bit.
Father, how could you be so careless? In the rush to outshine me, you made the biggest mistake you could ever make. Because of this, your empire is now in ruins. Good. Good? You mean you don't want to be emperor anymore? Why would I go back to that life? Yes, I miss some of the creature comforts that gave me, but what I have now is far more liberating. I cannot correct the atrocities that I have caused, no, but I can at least prevent any more from occurring.
Cell is extremely confused with Frieza's new outlook, but he's also happy to see Goku.
Since things have gotten rather boring around here, might I be allowed to have a bit of a sparring session with this Saiyan? I've been looking forward to meeting Son Goku.
Frieza doesn't really care, but does add the conditions that if Cell harms Goku badly, the bug will have to answer to him again. Cell bears this in mind, as he and Goku have a little bit of a sparring session to try and pass the time. Piccolo then asks how long they have to prepare for Trojan's arrival.
If my former ship is being used, it is capable of remarkable speeds, but it seems that the prince pulled quite the feat of tomfoolery. At best, we have a few days, and at worst, hours.
The gang are looking worried. Krillin lamenting the fact that Frieza had brought all of this mess to their home planet. Speaking of said maniac, Trojan wasn't preparing all that much for his arrival, assured that he'd be strong enough to cope with anything. He knew he was strong enough to stomp Frieza into dust, but that didn't mean that he was entirely sitting on his laurels. He had managed to chain up his brother and managed to extract the information of a fifth transformation, something that Frieza couldn't or didn't bother with. The art of actually getting this fifth form had taken a long time to get out of his brother, who had been weakened considerably after being locked up on his own without any sort of food or water for days. Yeah, chained up, literally. This exercise coming about when he was wrongly assumed to have helped Vegeta escape. By the way, so you know, he hadn't. And despite coolest pleas of innocence, Trojan was having none of it. He was angry that Vegeta had outsmarted him, And yeah, his brother was the next best thing to Vegeta around, so take out the anger on him.
Brother, if I weren't so untrusting of you, I would hug you so much for your help. This power of yours is remarkable. I know you're not lying to me. I can feel that this power exists, just waiting to be unleashed. As a mark of respect, you'll live long enough to witness it being used to squish Frieza into a bloody pulp. Oh, and here.
He stuffs a piece of bread into Cooler's mouth.
For your trouble. Ta-ta!
Trojan walks out of the cell, to which then Cooler spits out the bread. He didn't want that pity. We then cut to Goku's place where an unconscious Paragus had been tied up to a chair, and then Yamcha was keeping a close eye on him in case he'd caused any more trouble. But before then, Yamcha had been talking with Kid and Chilai, discovering the adventures that they had had with Frieza, and how much he'd actually changed in the meantime. The bandit was blown away with how such a previously evil being could reform in such a way, having a huge slice of humble pie jammed down his throat. Well, all I can say is that sounds like Vegeta could do with some... Oh, sorry. He forgot the very mention of Vegeta's name was enough to set Chilai off. She was still very upset about the Yardratians' demise by his hands as far as they knew, having not realized that Vegeta wasn't the one to do it.
Careful, boy. That's still a sore topic to discuss here.
Yamcha shrugs. Well, not really. We have these things called Dragon Balls that could bring them back. Chilai sniffs, opening one eye.
They could?
Yeah! Yamcha relieved that he actually said something good. Well, I mean, I guess our ones aren't working right now, but we know some friends who definitely got some lying around. We could wish for Yardrat to be revived as well as the people of it. They could be saved. Yep, that was the right thing to say. Now jubilant, Chilai gives Yamcha a big hug and Kit slaps him on the back.
Ha ha! Thank you, pal. Maybe once this whole mess is over, you should come along and tag along with us. I see some good stuff in you, boy.
But, Kit,
Says a surprised Chilai.
don't you hate people?
Well, yeah, useless people. This one, though, he's got some smarts, as well as a good bit of muscle.
Yamcha then tries to suck up a little, saying Kit looks tough himself.
Nah, I ain't as tough as you or Frieza, but I can hold my own against normal folk quite easily. I don't need any of them fancy light shows to prove myself.
He pats his bicep in assurance. Yamcha sits on this offer for a while, but they are then interrupted with the arrival of Broly, Goku and Gohan, as well as a scuffed up Frieza and Cell, who then has to duck a little bit so as to get inside without bumping his head, or his hat, looking extremely uncomfortable. With Frieza and his crew now informed about Vegeta's happenings and Cell's truce, Broly promises to keep his father in check. Goku then suggests to Frieza, Kit and Chilai that maybe after they get through all of this, they should settle here once everything is over. Maybe they could be friends. Frieza brushes this aside quickly. Just because I'm helping you out doesn't mean that I like you. Don't forget that. Despite me changing my ways of sorts, you still caused me a lot of pain for years. After this, I will be getting off this speck of dirt as quickly as possible. You have no idea how much I'm holding back the urge to vomit just breathing the same air as you.
Come now, droid boy, it ain't that bad. I want to talk to this Bulma chick you keep talking about and talk shop. Sounds like she's a smart cookie.
Chilai then asks Broly whether he would like to accompany them on their journey. Well, that's very kind of you to offer, but I wish to stay here for now. This place is much nicer than the world you found me on, and I want to savor it a little more whilst teaching under Kakarot. Chilai looks disappointed, but understands.
Alright, we can come and visit you, perhaps. Right?
She gives Frieza the stink eye, which reads, "We will come and visit." Frieza decides to quietly accept this, but not verbally acknowledge it. It was easier that way. In the Room of Spirit and Time, Vegeta is recovering from his malnutrition and replaying the memories of Trojan's tyranny every single day whilst he was in his company. Despite his replaying of Yardrat's destruction in his mind every single night, he was using this to fuel his desire for power and increasing strength. Without any distractions, the prince is pushing himself harder and harder, managing to unlock over 2 days the power of Super Saiyan 2. How was he able to do this? Well, all that training with Cooler before Trojan interrupted and managed to give him a little bit of a head start over the original story. Fifth form Cooler was a good yardstick. And his fervor in avenging Trojan, as well as being the one to deliver the news that the Dragon Balls were useless here, oh, that gave him the right motivation. As for Frieza, he didn't really care about him anymore. Frieza may have destroyed Planet Vegeta, but that was in the past. And even if he wanted to, he could be dealt with later. And if he helped in ridding the galaxy of his own brother, Trojan, that might just be enough to redeem him in his eyes. Vegeta might look the other way. For now. The day arrives. Far away, still on the outer realms of the solar system, Frieza and Vegeta both sensed Trojan's arrival. That key was very, very recognizable. Frieza instructs Yamcha to take Chilai and Kit back to their ship, which had been parked nearby Goku's house in the interim, and for them to leave the planet. Frieza had to listen to the young one complaining about being left alone for the nth time, but he knew that he could not allow them to stay here and risk being hurt. This fight is not yours to deal with. Kit grits his teeth.
Sure it is. You made it our fight. We won't leave you now. Not like this.
Frieza was surprised to hear Kit's voice wavering, being so outwardly emotional, but it still didn't sway his judgment. He was going ahead with this. Without so much as another word, Frieza turns away and flies off to prepare to meet his brother face to face for the first time. Kit pounds the dirt, and is actually really starting to get upset. Yamcha tries his best to comfort him, but Chilai isn't crying. Usually the other way around. That was odd.
Stop your blubbering, old man. We're not going anywhere.
Kit looks up to Chilai confused.
What do you mean? What can we do? We ain't got any of them beam things to help us.
Yamcha clears his throat. I do. The bandit surprised himself with how brave he was being. Normally, he would be the first one out of there if there was anything really strong, but, you know, he was actually got a strange sense of calm and confidence. It was very unusual. What's your plan? He says to Chilai, and the little Passepartout of Frieza motions them to listen carefully, explaining her idea. As this trio are preparing, the others are standing in readiness for the arrival of Trojan. Thanks to Bulma's trajectory calculations, they had managed to sort of ascertain where Trojan's ship would land. And sure enough, she wasn't all that far off. Ready and waiting, the gang witnessed Frieza's old ship land softly, and an army of Trojan soldiers lined the gantry, albeit rather slowly, down onto the surface. Out of the craft calmly walks Trojan, as well as Cooler, shackled to his side. If the situation wasn't so dire right now, Frieza might have guffawed at his older brother's predicament. But this aura that Trojan was projecting, that was no laughing matter. Trojan paid no attention to the Dragon team whatsoever. He considered them window dressing. He couldn't sense their energy anyway. All he cared about was Frieza, whom he recognized, despite having never really seen the change in his appearance because of the mechanical exterior being different to what he could remember.
We meet at last, brother. I can't tell you how long I've waited to shake your hand.
Frieza looks sourly at him. You can keep waiting. I wouldn't shake your hand if it was the last thing I do. Trojan looks giddy instead of angry.
Did you hear that, Cooler dear? Our brother thinks he's all that. His witticism can be arranged, though.
He tosses a fragile Cooler to the side, onto the dirt, and he then tells Sorbet, his latest commander, to order his men to take out Frieza's new friends. Sorbet does so, but then quickly wishes that he hadn't. It was becoming clear that Trojan's poor attitude towards his men, as well as really being awful, really almost treating them like prisoners, was starting to backfire. It was now manifesting itself. They didn't move, not an inch. Sorbet barks at them, out of fear for their lives, rather than anger at their insubordination, to just move, do what Trojan told them to do. But they still stood motionless. Despite their fear, they were fed up with this despot of a king. Frieza laughs his trademark laugh at the sight of this.
Some ruler you are, brother. I am the first to admit that I wasn't exactly chummy with my men, but at least I recognize their usefulness and even their own existence. Surely that's something father must have taught you, to rule, or were you so blinded with hatred towards myself that you chose to ignore that?
Trojan isn't perturbed. He simply just turns back to these thousands of men lining the gantry, and with one swift swipe of his head, cuts them down on the spot, his dual eye-beams slicing through their armor as if it were butter. Bodies litter the scene, and even Frieza is horrified by this sudden and desperate act.
How embarrassing! Stage fright got the better of them.
Cell, who had been reluctant to listen to Frieza up until now, suddenly gets the message.
He's crazy!
Now you realize?
Frieza exclaims.
Took you long enough.
Trojan then holds up a finger and then points it to the ground.
If any of your allies dare interfere with our affairs, I will... Well, you know what I will do.
Frieza nods in acknowledgement. It needn't be said. He did know. You lot, don't get involved. This is my fault. I should have led him away from here before now.
I thought too highly of him that he would tolerate teamwork. Clearly, this is something I must deal with alone. He slowly walks up to his brother and, surprisingly, hugs him. I am sorry, brother, for my act. I have wasted your time. I could never compare to you. Trojan is confused at this act of affection, but Goku spots Frieza doing a similar gesture with his finger. Before Trojan could realize what had happened, they were gone. But they haven't gone far. Goku looks up and senses that the two of them are now in the middle of space, not far from Earth. Remember, they can both breathe in space. But then not long after that happened, another ship arrived. Frieza's ship. Out of it runs Kit, Chilai, and Yamcha.
Out of the way!
Shouts Kid.
I've got some barging to do!
The trio run inside Trojan's now vacant vessel, Sorbet being blasted out of the way by Yamcha to do whatever Chilai planned to do. The blue dot that is Earth was the backdrop for this ultimate encounter. Trojan laughs, not perturbed by this inconvenience.
You may have gotten softer than father hoped for you, but you are just as grandiose. Where we fight matters not. I wish to tear you apart, so that this world can bask in my might before I blast it to pieces.
Frieza sighs. Trust me, the feeling is mutual. You are the remnants of my father's legacy, and I must say, it's a poor show. I cannot allow this farce to carry on any longer. I am more than ready for this. Frieza powers up, not going golden yet.
A fool's errand, brother. You are no match for me. Try not to make any sudden movements. It will only make the experience hurt more.
He didn't get to finish his train of thought, because suddenly he got a ship in the face. Frieza couldn't even fathom what had just happened for about a second, and he then smirks.
Kid, you old dog. I knew you would disobey me.
Frieza thought he'd figured it out. The old man must have gone and programmed the ship to maybe fly straight into Trojan on autopilot at maximum speed. Yes, it was a weird move, but it wasn't exactly unwelcome in Frieza's book. But that's not quite true. The old man wasn't that good in that short space of time. He was getting rusty in his old age. He was piloting the ship. He had to. Trojan was trying to move a limb to blast the ship away, but the craft was approaching the speed of light. He couldn't move his limbs. Its engines glowing white hot, Kit not caring for preserving them. This was the only time he would do so. Inside, the temperature was getting all the hotter.
Don't mess this up, Jordy boy.
Trojan is screaming with a mixture of fear and sadistic pleasure. This was so unexpected that it entertained him. But then he could feel it getting sort of toasty. Then really getting toasty as he crashed with the ship into the sun. He could feel the star burning his flesh, but he wasn't in total pain yet. He was in some sort of discomfort, sure, but he hadn't met his match.
Oh, this day is getting better and better.
He powers up to his final form. To hell with the other forms, and blasts back towards Earth. He went flying so fast that the sun's corona and flares were blown back viciously. Minutes passed. Did the old man get out in time? That's what he had told Chilai, that he would escape in an escape pod. But then the gang felt it. It had failed. The girl broke down. Several amongst you had mentioned over the past about how Frieza could use instant transmission as a makeshift teleportation thing. Goku couldn't do that. Well, I think we can easily explain that and keep it somewhat baked into the lore. In a little conversation that Goku had with Frieza before Trojan arrived, they had a little bit of time to do that. It seemed that the Saiyan had missed out on some very interesting tricks this technique can do. If you had bothered to stick around, monkey, you would have realized how versatile this little trick can be. All I will say is that you can teleport by using the transmission bit and then missing. If I were to say teleport, I am still locking into an energy signal and just moving a distance away from it deliberately. Clue is in the name. Instant transmission. Huh. This got Goku thinking for a while, and now you know how Frieza had done his homework. But that is the least of his worries right now. Up in the atmosphere, Frieza could sense that Kit was gone, just like everyone else down on the planet could, and that Trojan was on his way back, and had seemingly rocketed up in power. Was this his final form? It was far greater than Frieza's own final form when he was on Namek. It seemed like his father had done a lot of research whilst he was out cold, originally being repaired all of those years ago. It felt like an eternity, a whole other lifetime. But it didn't matter. Frieza's mechanical fist was clenched so tight with grief and anger that it was leaking robotic fluids and sparking. Kit, now look what you made me do. You made me give a damn. Without another word, he powers up to golden form and flies towards the trajectory from where Kit had piloted the ship to and Trojan was flying back from at breakneck speed. They were going to meet in the middle. Down on Earth, an inconsolable Chilai was slamming the ground, utterly defeated, utterly broken. Yamcha was doing his best to comfort her, but it did very little to do so. However, one person who tried to do so surprised everyone, and that was Vegeta. He knelt down in front of the wailing child and bowed. I am sorry. That stopped her.
Sorry?
This is my fault. Yardrat, that friend of yours. I grossly underestimated the enormity of that maniac's drive to end Frieza. I have never seen such atrocities undertaken with such little regard for life.
The mood is ice cold. The energies above them were ignored for the first time since Trojan had got here to see how Chilai would react. She did react, her hand raised up and then smacking the prince straight across the face. Everybody froze. What on earth did she just do? Vegeta, though, didn't move. He just held his cheek, still red raw from the smack, as Chilai stood up, looking sternly back.
That's for all the wretched things you Saiyans have done. To the galaxy. To me.
Chilai looks down to the ground, as if to muster the courage to speak.
Now I remember who attacked my home, ripped me away from my family. It was you.
Gohan then tried to explain that, no, it can't be. Vegeta, if it was him, was probably carrying out Frieza's orders out of fear. He wouldn't have meant to, surely.
No, you're wrong. This one killed for sport. One night, I asked Frieza for the truth. Did he come to my planet to destroy it? No. Frieza never sent any orders to massacre my home. Apparently it wasn't ready yet, as he put it. This one and his cronies came and did it themselves. For fun.
Vegeta wasn't moving. Deep down, he knew that, back in the day, she'd have been probably right. He, Nappa, and Raditz did do a lot of that, while Frieza was looking the other way.
Don't play the freezer card with me! Any of you!
She turns to the Dragon team, then to Goku and Vegeta specifically.
Saiyans have done nothing but hurt us. I know it wasn't you who directly destroyed Yardrat, but you may as well have done so with your stupid pride. And that goes for you too.
Me? What did I do? Splutters a surprised Goku. Cell chuckles behind them. The girl is right, Son Goku. I may not have turned goody-goody like the purple and white one up there, he's pointing skywards, but I do know him well enough to understand that Saiyans are ultimately a stain on this galaxy, despite having their uses from time to time. And this is coming from me, a being that is part Saiyan.
I suppose I have to thank you in a way, Goku. If it hadn't been for your battle with my captain, I'd still be picking up scraps on some Deus-Saken dump. But that doesn't excuse you for all of the pain your actions have put him through all the years.
Vegeta couldn't process what was going on, and so chose to just stay where he was, letting the girl's ire just wash over him. Back up there, the brothers were still speeding towards each other, and when they connected, there was an almighty shockwave, which carried for thousands of miles, enough to rip the icy cowls off of comets and shatter whole asteroids. The battle hadn't even started yet. Final form Trojan versus Golden Frieza was a very equal fight. Punch met by punch, kick met by kick. Frieza choosing to eschew witticisms for the first time, and instead concentrate his fury into tearing this monster to shreds. Trojan, instead of being frustrated for this lack of talking, loved this encounter. It was something he had been longing for ever since he was created. He was realizing his father's dream, to get back at Frieza. You have no idea how much I've longed for this battle, brother. This is what father wanted. I only wish that it happened sooner, instead of him dragging it out for so long. But silence. Frieza wasn't indulging this creature's rhetoric. Now this did get under Trojan's skin. Got nothing to say? Silence your best defense! Your best defense to justify your cowardice! You ran away from your friends on Yardrat. You were scared by me without even meeting me. You escaped and left them to their doom.
It's all your fault that they suffered my wrath. How does that make you feel, brother? To know you are responsible for their demise? You could have stopped me there and then, but no. Father was right. You are soft. Soft and simpering and useless.
Frieza then just straight up gut punched Trojan so badly it made Trojan spit up. He wasn't in pain though. This brought him further joy. Twisted, sickening joy.
Good! That got through to you. You acknowledge your act.
Frieza glides back. You are right. I should have stayed. I did indeed doom them all. Your words are not wrong. You may be crazy, but you're not a fool. Trojan is surprised to hear this. Was Frieza praising him after all he had done?
Why do you laud my deeds?
Because I care. Another stomach punch makes Trojan crease up in pain, but he's still not weakening.
No, this isn't how you're supposed to react. You're supposed to get angry, destroy me, make me writhe and twist with agony, make me feel true pain, feel alive. You're ruining my game! Yeah!
Trojan powers up and decides to hell with all of this. He's powering up to a new form, something that Cooler, dear brother Cooler, back on the planet, can sense. No, he mustn't! Frieza, get out of there! What are you talking about? What is he doing up there? Piccolo shouts to Cooler. He's doing it. He's powering up to the 5th form.
5th form?
Gasps Goku.
You meant that final form isn't the highest form?
No, there's another. Goku looks up panicked, but then an eerie calm descends upon him.
Good. If history repeats itself.
He doesn't even bother finishing the sentence, leaving everyone guessing, but then looking back up to the stars. Does Goku have an idea about what's about to happen? Frieza gazes upon 5th form Trojan, looking immense and triumphantly back at his brother.
Your golden form is no match for this, brother. You really should have heeded your older brother and learnt this form too. It would have made things so much more fun and easier for you. Oh, well.
Trojan rushes forward, and Frieza tries to grip his outstretched arm to dodge the attack, but it misses. His robotic arm is simply shattered to pieces, having not been bestowed with the capability to process the golden power. Kit never got round to it. One arm down, Frieza is looking horrified. He was getting flashbacks to the moment that Cold, his now late father, had gone final form on him and did the same thing, wrecking his robotic body for daring to defy him.
Oh, I realize the irony. Daddy enjoyed this. His spite lives within me. Spite for having created such a miserable excuse for a ruler.
You're not fit to rule. You never were. You were simply created to get back at me. You were never destined for greatness, to take over the Empire. You are just a tool. Trojan spits out vicious expletives and screams.
Well, if I am a tool, then I will do what a tool does best.
He grabs Frieza's head
And break you down bit by bit.
He chucks Frieza away at great speed, and then sends a blast following him, to which Frieza can barely hold back, his one good hand getting singed slowly but surely. But he keeps plowing more and more power into it, to the point where he comes to a stop. Trojan can feel this, and instead of stopping, he keeps pumping out more energy into it.
I know this attack will be the beginning of the end. Just be a good boy and sleep, brother.
Goku feels something, and Frieza does too. Without a moment to spare, Frieza instant transmissions out of there, leaving the beam to travel into space, its destination unknown. Trojan, who can't sense energy mind, mistakes this lack of resistance to be his brother's death, and then relaxes his limbs and basks in his own glory. But now what? He did have no purpose now. Frieza was right. He wasn't created to become the true ruler of the galaxy. He paid no attention to Cole's rules and teachings. He was just made to punish Frieza, but with him gone, he was aimless. Well, not for long. Frieza reappeared and slammed a fist into the side of Trojan's armor.
Frieza, without another word, extends his arms out in his trademark pose and invites Trojan to come for him. Trojan naturally takes this invitation, but misses. Frieza has moved 20 foot to the right and invites him to strike again, but Trojan misses again.
What is this? Why can't I hurt you? Why?
History repeating itself. Tell me, dear brother, did you train to perfect that form of coolers?
Why would I need to train? You should know. We are born superior to all beings. This is a natural gift of ours that none can compare.
I thought the same when I was your age, that this was just handed to us on a silver platter. But no, this battle is quite frankly over and done with. I can feel it. I'm sure the monkey is getting a kick out of this too. Looking back to Earth, and speaking of, Goku is smiling with relief. Everyone can sense it, except for Chilai.
What's going on? Why are you all looking so happy at a time like this?
The armchair places a hand on her shoulder. Frieza's done it. He's learnt from his past.
That's right,
Says Goku chirpily.
back on Namek, Frieza used his full power against me, and therefore burnt through a whole heap of energy in one go. In minutes, in fact. He never trained to use that form. Well, not use it efficiently. Seems like Trojan never got that memo either.
Cooler in the distance smiles. Of course. How could I have been so blind to that? That fool was too desperate to get my power that he rushed himself even further. Now he will pay for all that he's done with his own ignorance.
You're making this up. You're stalling for time so your little friends can step in and save your sorry hide.
Says a worried Trojan. No, nobody's coming to my rescue. I wouldn't accept it even if they were. I can finish you off right now with one hand tied behind my back. Oh, wait. He lifts the remains of his broken arm. I already am. He then proceeds to attack Trojan, whose power is falling by the second now. He is powerless to counter, and for the first time in his life, he's afraid. And no amount of self-reasoning is enough to eschew this ever-growing feeling of fear and horror to realize he had lost because of his own ignorance.
Brother, don't do this. Why would you kill your own flesh and blood?
Frieza laughs in his face. That has to be the most pathetic thing you have said since you got here. You're supposed to be the emperor of this galaxy, aren't you? Act like it. Frieza is relentless. Each punch for those that Trojan had brutally ended for the sake of getting back at Frieza. There was not an inch of mercy crossing Frieza's mind. When he was done, he looked to see the bruised and battered figure of Trojan, who had now powered down to his first form. He had taken such a bruising, looking defeated, but elated. Thank you. Thank you. For what? For this. I've never felt so alive in the face of death. This is the greatest feeling ever. Frieza thought for a second. Should he deny this wretch the satisfaction of dying? Spare him like the monkey and his crew would do? Nah! I am sorry, brother. You should have never been born, dragged into any of this. This is all the fault of father. He lets rip, and Trojan accepts his destiny for his voyage into eternity. His body is being torn to pieces in the midst of this attack, and when he connects with the atmosphere of Earth, he laughs with mirth and pleasure as he streaks through the sky, all before being reduced to just ash in the upper ionosphere. The twinkling of the energy blast as it dissipates, and the remains of the monster left a glistening mark across the entire planet, and the dragon team down below basked in this feeling of relief and wonderment. It reflecting in their eyes. Trojan was gone. With the remains of his energy, Frieza transmitted back when he could feel no more of his brother's presence, and simply collapsed by Chilai's feet. He had done it. When he came to, in his final form once more, Goku offered him a hand up. Good job, friend. Frieza got up, and once he had gained enough strength to reply, he wrenched his hand away. I'm glad you finally saw the bigger picture, Goku. Took you long enough. Chilai, without another moment's hesitation, gave Frieza the biggest hug she had ever given anybody. Good. You're safe now.
The Dragon team was still dumbfounded seeing Frieza being so affectionate to anyone, but he was right. They were safe. Now that Trojan had been dealt with, Goku set about fixing some things. With the aid of instant transmission, Goku and Frieza set about requesting that Dende become the new Guardian of Earth like in the original, and then of course, the use of the Namekian Dragon Balls, to which the people of Namek were, needless to say, skeptical to do. Frieza personally took himself to Namek with Goku, as I said, along to explain his awareness of his torrid past, but did not wish to apologize entirely for it. I cannot undo what I have done, but all I can do is tell you this. You will never see or hear from me again. I am a changed being. All I wish to do is just get my friend back. Elder Mori was bowled over with the honesty in Frieza's voice, as well as being accountable for his actions, and having a friend. Porunga is summoned, and the first wish is to bring back Kit to life, and that is done. Kit awakens in a heap by Frieza and Goku's feet, fully aware of what had happened.
Ha! The plan worked.
Plan? What plan?
Come now, droidy boy. You seriously think I was going to sacrifice my own life without knowing I could be brought back with those Dragon Balls you got? Yamcha told me that. That boy, he's worth keeping, Frieza.
The next wish is to bring back Yardrat and its people, which is done, and then the final wish was to bring back all of those that were ended by Trojan and his rampage, save for King Cold, obviously. With that, the dragon vanishes from view, and Kit and Frieza plan to leave for Earth. Let's go cheer the girl up. She's been through a lot.
Sure thing, droidy boy.
You know what, Kit? I'll let that slide. They vanish as Goku takes Dende back to Earth. Now with everyone gathered back on Earth, Goku then asks something that had been on his mind just now.
Why did you not wish for your body back, Frieza? Surely you want to not be robotic anymore.
You would think so, but... He looks to his still broken robotic arm and smiles.
This is a permanent reminder of where I once was,
and must never lapse back into as long as I should live. Cooler then walks up to his brother, and then brings up a good point. I hate to be a buzzkill right now, but with Trojan gone, there is a pretty substantial power vacuum to be had. You need to step back into your former empire. I mean, it is yours, technically.
You'll take it.
Me? Are you deaf? You! Yes, you! Vegeta is stunned at this choice. But he's still King Cold's son! Oh, so if me fighting your corner for all of these months keeping you alive meant nothing, did it? After all that I've been through, I have no wish to destroy.
It should have been yours to begin with anyway.
I've had my fill of that life. Now it's time to carve out my own, doing what I want. Goku then asks if he would consider joining forces, perhaps staying on Earth with the Dragon team. To this, Frieza walks up to him, and then with a fist, gut punches Goku that shocks everyone. Have you forgotten, monkey? I may have helped you as you helped me, but that does not make us allies. You Saiyans have caused more trouble for us than we would care for. After this, you are on your own. I do thank you for your humble assistance, but this does not mean that I like you. I may not be a lord anymore, but I am still Frieza. Come along, Kit, Chilai, and you over there. Me? I've heard on the grapevine that you are indeed quite useful, as well as I find you to be quite the suave figure. You've earned yourself a place on my ship. Yamcha is stunned. They put in a good word for him, Kit and Chilai, but his friends, he couldn't leave them. Chilai walks up to him and assures him that if he doesn't like it, he can always come back.
Yeah, boy, we ain't holding you hostage. It's just nice to have some extra muscle on board. That, when you're a bandit, could work well with Chilai.
Yamcha tries to explain he's not a bandit anymore, and Puar does offer his assistance too, and then showcases his shapeshifting powers, to which Frieza is very impressed with.
Come on, Yamcha, give it a try.
Moans Chilai, and Yamcha agrees, eventually. He'll see how it goes.
What about you, Cell?
They all turn to Perfect Cell, who has been standing there all this time looking deep in thought. Well, what can I do? I've been outclassed by that disappointment. He points to Frieza. You lot will no doubt outclass me too. I may as well just head off out into space and explore, I guess. Figure out a purpose for my seemingly everlasting life. They all think about this and ultimately accept this. This is not a bad idea. After all, he knows that Frieza would come knocking if he dared to endanger anyone. And as for Broly, he chose to stay on Earth and train further with Goku, and make sure that his power was much more well-rounded than before,
and that he could become a valuable member of the Dragon team going forward. Making their goodbyes, Frieza and his crew, as well as the nervous Yamcha and Puar, lift off from the ground and head off out into the galaxy. Their next destination, Yardrat.
Are we gonna take the long way, droided boy? We're gonna use that finger thing again. Warn me if it's the second one. I need a sick bag on standby.
No, Kit. I could do with the rest after all that I've been through. And I also need you to fix... well, he wiggles the stump of his robotic arm.
Oh, right. Can do. I'll also make it so your gold thing works with it as well. I mean, I should have done that.
Yes, that's a good point. I should have asked you to do that sooner. Frieza and Kit then head off to the repair shop, and Yamcha, Puar, and Chilai look out to the surging stars as they speed forwards towards Yardrat to meet their friends.
It's gonna be fun working together. I can't wait to see your skills.
I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm not one for stealing things from innocent people, you know.
Innocent people? Mom, where's the fun in that? If anyone deserves it, it's those who try and game the system. We'll just game them back.
Oh, right, yeah. They start talking shop as the ship flies off into the cosmos, their future bright. And that's where we end things. In this form factor. Yes, this is not the end. I plan to continue the series in a different guise, as an audio drama series entitled Revelation F. You see what I did there? Resurrection? Revelation? F? Either way, you can expect these quite regularly, and I have a cast in mind, so do look forward to this continuation in the fullness of time. And what did you folks think of the scenario in the end anyway? Did you like it? Are you excited to hear more in the future? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!